Afternoon to each and every one of you. I am glad to stand in front of you to really just open the annual session. And we are going to go through some interesting discussions on how ICEMA is wanting to really just shape the future of infrastructure in India. That's all about how we want to really just embrace ourselves to adopt technology and then make sure that we are able to do it in a most sustainable and innovative way possible to really just build India's tomorrow. Having said that, I will just step back a little bit and then talk about some of the timelines, what we discussed in the last 3-4 hours. And we talked about 2023 being the best year for the industry, and wherein we had a significant amount of growth, and it's also really something, a proud moment for us to have crossed that 100,000 mark in the equipment sales. And we also talked about 2030, which is typically the timeline of what ICEMA lays down as a vision plan to aspire to become the second world's largest industry. And we heard from our partner about the economic indicators, which is really actually motivating to really see all the economic indicators are actually pointing that it's going to be possible for us to realize the vision. And as we really go towards this, and we want to also have in perspective that 2047, we want to really just enable India to become a developed nation, and infrastructure is definitely going to be an important aspect of it. And all these timeline really says that we are at a cusp of really just having a significant amount of momentum in terms of the growth of demand for the construction equipment. And as we look at the significant growth and the momentum on the demand, it's important for us to really make sure that we are actually becoming a lot more responsible and a lot more innovative and actually augmenting that. So with that said, I did talk a little bit about the ICEMA's technology vision document, because the technology vision document really talks about the how portion of it. So how are we really going to enable shaping India's tomorrow with whatsoever is the data point which we looked at? And that's pretty much what the ICEMA's vision document. So the technology vision roadmap is a strategic plan which really outlines the roadmap on how as ICEMA is going to really look at not just the global trends, but also the emerging requirements, what the country has got inherent to itself, and also the emulating regulatory framework. And want to be really proactive in terms of ensuring that we are actually just staying ahead of the curve than actually just falling behind. So that's one of the primary objectives of the technology vision document. And this vision document has been actually prepared in consultation with much broader stakeholders. And of course, the vast majority of the contribution comes from the members of the tech panel and also all the GC members. And definitely want to thank all the members and the tech, GC members to really just put forward their valuable insight to really just make sure that we are taking a comprehensive, cohesive voice of the industry to really shape the future. And apart from that, we have been having a lot of interactions with the policymakers, which is pretty much the government. And government has also been consulted in terms of their aspiration on what they would want to really see as something which they want to really just embrace in the coming years as they look at the infrastructure explosion in India. And last but not the least, we do want to make sure that we are actually taking along with us the ecosystem, which is going to be the supply chain as such, because it's not just about us staying alone. We need the entire ecosystem to really just come along with us to ensure that we are actually positioning for delivering what we aspire to be. So it's actually a cohesive effort of the complete comprehensive ecosystem, what makes up the industry, and that's definitely something which is going to be an important aspect to make it work. And last but not the least, if you were to really look at it, what are those three major aspects what this technology vision document focuses on? Number one is safety. Because we talk a lot about safety in our respective equipment features as well as the respective manufacturing locations. And as much as we talk about the equipment safety features as well as the manufacturing operation, it's important for us to ensure that the safety of the job site where the equipments are deployed is going to be also equally important. So the first important aspect what the technology vision document is focusing is actually on the job site safety. And one more timeline which I actually just missed to say is the year 2070, because India has a significant commitment on the emission norms and sustainability aspect of it, and India wants to reduce the greenhouse emission by 45%, and we as a responsible industry need to make sure that we dovetail into the broader agenda of what India has committed, and of course ICEMA also has to embrace sustainability as we do that. So that's the second important aspect of the technology vision document. So as we really make sure that we are ensuring the job site safety, how are we ensuring that we are also doing it in a more sustainable way? for the entire industry as such. And the third one is the important aspect of it. So we do definitely have an aspiration that the industry wants to grow. And it's not just by leveraging whatever is the present technology we want to grow the industry. We want to ensure that India actually stays ahead of the game and either on par or better than the rest of the world to ensure that we are embracing technology in a much more aggressive manner than anybody else. And we have definitely anecdotal references in the recent past on how India has adopted technology much faster than any of those developed nations, and we do want to make sure that this industry also actually is acting as a front runner in terms of adoption of technology. So which is pretty much about the solution. So what is the solution which is really going to be actually enabling that infrastructure which will help shape India's tomorrow? So these are the three major aspects of technology vision document: the safety, sustainability, and solutions. And we have partnered with the PwC team as a knowledge partner who has been working with us intensively. And they've also done some external benchmarking because the PwC team has got a good amount of insight in terms of working with a similar kind of a vision document with, for other industries. And they also have actually reached out to the other global association to really see what they see as an emerging trend. So PwC team has been really helping us to connect not just to the broader stakeholders inside India, but also really just expanded our reach to the global stakeholders, by virtue of which we want to reiterate that ICEMA wants to really just not position itself to be a nodal body to actually represent the voice of the industry in country, but also globally. So having said that, the primary agenda of why we are sitting here to deliberate is we want to make sure that all this converge at a point wherein we would be able to actually put together a granular recommendation to the policymakers, which can actually help us to really just start making progress in the right direction towards the future. And what is planned as part of the tech panel is to really have a summit. And the summit is planned at the later part of the year, tentatively on the fag end of the third quarter, which is September. And that is the place wherein the tech panel members will actually work on getting to the next level of granularity and submit the recommendations against those three broad parameters: safety, sustainability, and solutions, and then put forward as a roadmap of how ICEMA wants to embrace that and then take it forward to the broader stakeholders. And this will be a big step change in the approach of ICEMA because we did talk a lot about the vision document and what kind of a value it really created for ICEMA and also the cohesive messaging. And I think the same amount of vision and value and cohesive messaging is what this vision document, technology vision document, is going to create in the coming years. And that's something which we will hear. And I think what is definitely going to happen is the explosive infrastructure growth. And ICEMA is going to be definitely playing an important role in shaping those infrastructure growth. And it's going to be an important aspect that technology will again go hand in hand with it. So with that said, I would actually just turn it over to Kavan, who has been really leading the PwC team in terms of putting together a technology vision document, and he will quickly take you through an abridged version of what the team has conceived so far with the broader consultation of all the stakeholders, what I talked about, and then we will actually just go and have a panel discussion with all the other eminent panelists who are sitting here to actually just get their point of view. And I definitely want to thank all the panel members who have been part of it and also the GC members who have been providing a lot of guidance and direction to get us to this point. And it's still a job not completely done. We still have the last mile which needs to be done between now and September. And I think that's what would be the focus of this panel to really get it to the finish line. So thank you for being with us here. And I would actually turn it over to Kavan to take over the stage.
A very good afternoon to you all. I think this session is actually very challenging because all of us had great food and now we have to say something very thought-provoking so that we keep you awake. And let me promise you, with our very eminent panel and what we are going to present to you today, I'm pretty sure you will be provoked. Either you will agree or you will like to be part of this whole conversation. First and foremost, I want to thank ICEMA, the leadership team, for giving PwC the opportunity to be part of this engagement. So we are part of the management consulting team at PwC, and we've done similar technology roadmaps for other industries. And really, it is a vision document that talks about nurturing and building an ecosystem that is competitive, not just for our own company's sake, but for the sake of our nation. Because as you know, construction equipment is really the heart, or you can say, the supporting industry that helps us build infrastructure, and we all know how dearly we need great infrastructure in our country. I would also like to thank all the participants. I think more than 20, 25 of you, and we had multiple workshops, sessions, of course the technology and sustainability panel. We got a lot of inputs from all of you. We synthesized all those inputs, and as Vivekanand mentioned, we spoke to some of our global counterparts, looked at how around the world things are changing, and what you see today is an output of a lot of thinking and synthesizing and brainstorming that we all went through. So let me now, over the next 15 minutes or so, walk you through the technology roadmap. This is our document as an industry, and like Vivekanand said, we are still open for conversation. If you have any further inputs before we finalize and share it with the agencies, please feel free to reach out to us. So first and foremost, what really is the story that we are looking at? As I mentioned, the construction equipment industry plays a really pivotal role in building the nation. You look at India's one of the biggest growth bottlenecks over the last many years. It's been the quality of our infrastructure and the kind of supply chain constraints it creates. So building a solid infrastructure in an economically as well as environmentally sustainable way is a very crucial element of how we grow how we grow our country. Construction equipment industry is a great economic growth lever as well. The kind of multiplier effect we have, with the kind of direct and indirect jobs we render, and all the construction activity, whether it is in building roads, ports, in mining, etc., various applications. I think all of those, really are massive employment generators directly. And at the same time, the kind of technology advancements that we are seeing in this space, there is a real case for us to do more with less. And, how can our customers be more productive? How can we contribute in building roads, ports faster, by use of technology? I already talked about sustainable development. This is a challenge that around the world countries are facing, that how do you balance economic growth along with taking care of the environment and not damaging the environment. Lastly, we play a very important role whenever there is a disaster, or reconstruction activity. Construction equipment industry is really at the core. In many ways, construction equipment industry is the core of any nation. And as India wants to go on this, huge growth journey over the next few decades, our industry's modernization in some ways can contribute, in shaping India's future. So with that, I really want to talk about what are some of the key themes that Vivekanand also touched upon. When we synthesized and looked into the future, we looked at 2035. We said, what are those things that our industry should really, assimilate and make part of our DNA, and also play the role of influencing our customers in adopting some of these technologies. First and foremost is safety. In spite of all the great technology that we build, we do have quite a few accidents at our job sites and very many unfortunate situations. And when we analyze what is the reason for it, it's a combination of many different elements, and we'll come to the details as we go along. So how can we make our equipment safer? How can we make it safe for the operator as well as all the people who are at the job site? So that was the first question. The second theme that came out is how can we leverage technology to make our asset utilization better by giving better visibility, by giving better, information to the various decision makers to leverage the assets more effectively. And thirdly, sustainability. So these were some of the key things that we looked at while building the technology roadmap. What really is the purpose of a technology roadmap? In some ways, this is our guiding document for the entire industry. This is what, as an industry, we are saying to the outside world that these are our commitments. And so, the first point we want to say, this should serve as a guideline, guidance for the entire industry. The second piece is, it gives us a roadmap. What is India's view of the future? Say many of us are global or even domestic companies. What in technology should we invest in? Of course, every company has their own strategy, so we are not getting into that. But, as a country, what really is the roadmap, whether it is in terms of powertrain or in safety or, sustainability? So that's the piece that we talk about. Then an application-centric view, we are building that, very effectively, to make sure that we have, programs and initiatives that are relevant for the various applications that we are looking at. And finally, it talks about global technology trends and what does it mean from an India standpoint and how do we see this adoption really happening. So first and foremost, what really is our, vision statement or technology vision statement for the construction equipment industry? And we synthesized and brainstormed a lot about this, and we came out with this statement that for the construction equipment industry, we want to promote usage of cutting-edge technology through sustainable, safe, and smart solutions with the purpose to shape India's tomorrow. I think this is a very profound statement and a very simple one, and came through from contributions from all the members. And for me, what is most important is the broader purpose that we are setting, that it's about making India competitive, it is about shaping our country's future in some sense. So what does this really mean? First and foremost, while it's good to have an overall technology roadmap, it is equally important to make it measurable. So, from a safety standpoint, one of the goals that we would like to set is how can we eliminate at least equipment-related safety incidents at the job site. That's the first major piece, that by 2035 there should not be any equipment-related safety incidents in the country. The second piece is on solutions. So our goal is how can we improve output quality at the job site and the productivity by almost 2 times current efficiency. And some of it may come from using the right equipment for the right application. The third piece, which is focusing on GHG emission, how can we reduce the GHG emission from 2005 base levels down to by almost 45%, These were the broad goals that we wanted to set. Of course, this is, will get flushed out as we go along. So what really are the 4 key pillars that are integral to the systematic adoption of technology vision of the Indian construction equipment industry? First and foremost, we said that to do this well, we need to have a very robust regulatory framework. So if you look at any industry in the country that has really seen a very healthy and robust development, a stable and predictable regulatory framework is very important. So through this document, we want to put together a thought piece that will engage with the government agencies and get an agreement on what really is our regulatory framework that we want to put in place. The second very important thing is, how do we ensure that there is right enforcement that happens about the policies and about the rules, regulations, that are already in place but are not getting implemented that effectively. The third pillar is about skilling. And obviously, when we did a root cause analysis of some of the challenges, whether it is on safety, productivity, or sustainability, a A lot of it boils down to the kind of skill that we have. So how are we going to invest in skilling for the future and make sure that our employees and industry at large, including operators and users, are really well equipped to handle and leverage the technology that we can share with them. And the fourth piece is, putting together the necessary enabling infrastructure, whether it is in the form of, having the right kind of alternate fuel available or having, grid-powered vehicle, for example, grid-powered equipment. How do you really, provide the right kind of stable power in some of these, remote locations? So to implement any technology roadmap, an enabling infrastructure is a must. So our entire plan, and if any of you who are interested in looking at the more detailed report, may please, reach out to the ICEMA team. But, we detail in this document, we've detailed how putting together an enabling infrastructure is very important for rapid technology adoption. So in summary, if you look at our technology roadmap, and Vivek briefly mentioned this, we are talking about three key themes. First and foremost is job site safety. Second is job site solutions. And third is sustainability. Not just in terms of the product that we use, but also, in the recycling, leveraging circularity, emission, all those elements are included in the sustainability piece. So I know you may not be able to fully read this, but, we are happy to, share this document with you later. But broadly speaking, the way we are looking at this entire journey, you can see we've broken down the roadmap. And I would say this is the most important slide in this entire exercise. And it puts together where do we see technology coming at what point of time. So, the first block is the ones in the short term. And you see 3 swim lanes. They are in line with the 3 themes that we talked about: safety, solutions, and sustainability. So in the short term, when it comes to safety, we are looking at visual-based systems as the ones which will get, immediately accepted, and we are already seeing many use cases of it. The second piece is, proactive safety systems. The usage of this has to be, encouraged a lot more. We may need creative business models to make this happen as well. The third is the use of basic PPE kits. While, of course, in theory, it's always been there, but we all know that at the job sites, implementation can be pretty inconsistent. So how do we, implement this in a very structured manner and, have the necessary, enforcement in place in case of, non-compliance? In the medium term, we are, looking at, more proactive safety solutions, then AML integration, looking at operator health monitoring, virtual site walkthroughs using AR, VR, interoperability, access controls. These are some of the things that we are looking at in the medium term. And in the long term, we are seeing, especially in the developed world, especially in hazardous sites, we are seeing autonomous equipment coming in. And at least from an India standpoint, we think that a semi-autonomous equipment will certainly, come in. So that was the first swim lane on the side of safety. You look at solutions, that's a piece which we are seeing a lot of, use cases are already there, especially we see in the mining application. We're seeing a lot of this use cases where it is GPS tracking based, telemetry based, equipment activation, using telematics. And now with, 5G getting implemented and more bandwidth being available, we see the adoption of this, really coming in across the board in various use cases. The second, in the medium term, we are looking at machineries being more connected, by default, and we are seeing that trend a lot more in commercial vehicle industry as well. that most vehicles now have so much electronics and generate so much data, whether the customer is willing to pay for it or not, it's by default, that kind of information is generated. And a lot of the benefit comes through by, pulling out data from those equipment and bringing product improvements that comes by virtue of that as well. And in the long term, on the solutions swim lane, we are looking at, autonomous and digitized construction equipment. We see that happening in a, massive way. We are also looking at, 3D concrete printing as, one of the solutions that may come in the longer term. Using digital twins, is something which, we are seeing in the manufacturing industry is now happening. In the short to medium term, we see that happening in the construction equipment industry in the longer term as well. From a sustainability standpoint, our biggest, priority right now is how do we, really put together a framework by which remanufacturing and refurbishment is, encouraged. And it's already happening in I would say construction equipment industry has been doing this for a while now. But how do you put a program, to incentivize remanufacturing and refurbishment? How do we get this industry more organized and at scale so that we can really have an impact and in some sense, be almost like a role model for many other industries? Looking at sustainability from a cost-effective and eco-friendly material standpoint, this is a trend that we are seeing across manufacturing. Many of the companies, have their own ESG goals. So definitely they are looking at materials that are eco-friendly. In the medium term, we are looking at one of the big priorities being circularity. How do we ensure that, the products that we make are really circular, and there is an organized mechanism for, salvaging equipment that are, used. And in the long term, we are also looking at, alternate fuel technologies coming in and, really battery end life management. EV adoption may happen, electric equipment adoption may happen a lot faster. So with that, with so many batteries coming in, we need to have, very clear compliance for battery end of life cycle management as well. Of course, this is a very heavy slide, I recognize that, but at least we wanted to live this as an example for you to really, look at the future and, give your inputs and your views as we go along. So what does this really mean? At the end of it, a summary, the key extract of this entire engagement, we are suggesting 7 specific agenda points that can be taken further. First and foremost is on job site safety. There, I think within that category, the first point that we want to highlight is operator skilling and licensing. A lot of work can be done there, and in some ways, with the safety agenda, that is a low-hanging fruit. One of the suggestions from the industry for a while has been to mandate license for a CE operator. We want to pursue that further, have a year-wise target for deploying certified operators, updating the curriculum, getting them ready for all the technologies that are coming in, and also expanding the training network. I think we need to do this at scale to make sure that, we don't have, all these, terrible accidents. I think even yesterday we had a story of, a road construction site where there was a massive accident in Maharashtra and a lot of lives were lost. So what can be done to avoid this? I think we really need to invest a lot more in operator skilling and licensing and putting some, regulations in place and enforcing them. The second piece is the compliance structure for enforcement. As I already mentioned, there needs to be some kind of, mechanism where there is reward as well as there should be penalties in case of non-compliance to the guidelines that come in. So those were the 2 points on job site safety. Looking at it from job site solutions, one of the key elements that we find, and when we did the benchmarks with our global peers, we find that in India there is a tendency to use general purpose equipment in many use cases. So, one of the ways to boost productivity is to use the optimal use of equipment at the right place. And for this, I think should be an industry initiative on how we can, bring the right equipment for the right application. The fourth one is how do we have standard equipment protocols, especially with digital coming in. This is going to be an important piece because as a user, I may have equipment from 5 different OEMs. How do they talk to each other and how do I build an overall view of the, how my assets are performing? So having standardization in electronic control systems, alternate fuel powertrains, I think those are important elements. From a sustainability standpoint, we need to put in place a target-based sustainability roadmap, whether it is in terms of greenhouse gas reduction or even in terms of circularity. Also, adoption of any sustainable technologies generally doesn't happen without incentives. And we've seen that in the automotive application as well, where the shift to electric, the government has given incentives for it. So it's important that we need to have incentive policies, green credits that will encourage the adoption of sustainable technologies. So this is the 6th point that we are recommending from agenda to take things forward. Last but not the least, our industry definitely needs a single nodal body, within the government that harnesses the development of our industry, regulates it, hears the challenges that we face, and acts as the central point with which, one can work with the government and make sure that we, build the nation responsibly together. So those were the 7 main points. Of course, the detailed report has many other suggestions. We will discuss that at the right time, at the right forum. So with that, I think in summary, one of the key aspects that we are saying is how can we collaborate with MORTH in particular within the government agencies to help execute the nodal agency requirement. While it may sound as a very simple suggestion, but getting it done for the government, it will require a lot of effort, convincing, education. So, that's one very important point that we want to look at. The CEMM Act, we had talked about it way back in 2016-17, and I think the consensus from many of the members was that how do we, rejuvenate this, put it on the agenda, and how can we, discuss this going forward. The third point is how do we have measurable and well-defined realistic goals for 2035? And finally, how do we make the technology vision roadmap as a working document which acts as a guiding post or almost like a lighthouse, both for the industry, for the government, and all the stakeholders, including our customers. So that was really an extract, a snippet of what we wanted to share as an output of this entire exercise. And with that, thank you very much for your patient listening and trying to capture all those words that we have there. Thank you. Of course, lots of different changes happening around us. And, obviously, what makes the biggest impact these days in particular, even from a, stock market standpoint and as a responsible business, is about being sustainable in all respects. And the construction equipment industry, in some sense, has been involved in this. So my first question is to you, Jaideep. How do you really see sustainability coming in the construction equipment industry? And, in my presentation, I briefly touched upon some of those points, whether it is remanufacturing, refurbishment, principles around circularity, the choice of materials, steel. What do you think is really happening in the market right now, and how do you see it panning out?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So, in a lot of ways, what we discussed just on the vision roadmap, a lot of the advancements are already being done. So the concept of manufactured aggregates is already picking up, right? So from the industry, which I represent, the crushing and screening industry, we are seeing a lot of places, the demolition waste and, is being used to crush, and then that is being used as a manufactured aggregate. So you are not using actually the virgin quarries, you are not transporting the material from different sites, but you are using in situ crushing, and you are using that and manufactured aggregates, right, from the demolition waste and slag. In fact, slag is also being used to produce aggregate, and that is being used widely in some of the projects for the road manufacturing. The other concept, if you see in the sea industry, which we are seeing, is a lot of us are supplying machines which are actually handling the big waste dumps which you see all across the big large cities. And these separation machines, which what they do is they separate out, apart from the RDF, which is used in the cement industry as fuel, alternate fuel, but also you get out the soil from that waste dump. And this soil is being used in some of the projects as a replacement of the normal soil which you would excavate out of the, out and put it on and transport it to the site. So one good example is we had some machines working in the Ludhiana project, right, so clearing up the Ludhiana dump site. And that soil which is being reclaimed is being used in the Ludhiana-Roopnagar highway project. So basically you are not transporting fresh sand from different other places, but you're using the sand in the nearby places. So I think from that perspective, the circular economy, that's picking up, the concept is picking up, the acceptance is there, right? You go 2 years, 3 years back and ask a contractor to use it. I think there was a huge amount of, reservations about it. Manufactured sand, I mean, in this industry is one big thing, which today I'll say 50 to 60% of the buildings are not using the reverse sand, they're using manufactured sand. So there's a lot happening by this industry by providing machines, and more than that, manufacturing those machines within the country to keep the costs low, so that the acceptance is much better from the customer's point of view. That is being done. And then I think the other thing which is moving quite quickly, obviously electrification, right, is across all the members who are sitting in this room. I think every company is moving towards electrification. Some of these, some parts of the sea industry, I'll say, is much further ahead in terms of the electrification. Some parts of the sea industry is slightly behind, and that is because of the nature of the equipment. So again, speaking to the kind of equipment which we produce, like the crushers and screens, you can move to electrification, but they work in a very highly dusty and harsh environment, right? High vibration, high dust content, right? So we have seen, there are some challenges in terms of, the longevity of those, platforms, and that is where I think as an industry we have to work towards together to improve that and to come out with the new generation technologies.
Thank you, Jaideep. Let me now move to Moses. Moses, specifically when it comes to safety, of course, India in some sense offers equipment which are at global standards of safety, but what are the customers' further expectations from the OEMs to improve productivity, and are they willing to pay for safety?
Yeah, I think I would like to see it from in 2 points of view. One is where the owner come user, like the amount of usage per month is very high, like mining customers. I don't think the initial cost of giving safety really matters to them, because they work for 35,000 hours, 40,000 hours. But any additional cost for a infra project rental guy would be definitely a burden. That can be a challenge, but I feel with norms set in place and more equipments going with the basic safety, the cost of safety equipment should come down. We are already seeing that. Over the period, the items cost have reduced a lot, and I feel that all these electronic items which are used for monitoring safety has to come down when you on a mass production. So I don't see any major challenge as far as the customer is concerned. Initial cost should not be a problem for mining customers, because it's spread over a period of time, and they also use more per hour cost comes down drastically. But I want to bring a particular challenge, like you rightly said. The challenges are, one is when the government brings in the rule, which stage, from which stage to which stage in terms of safety. That decision, policy decisions are a big challenge because we may be far behind in certain areas when you compare to the global standards. So what step you take 2 steps together or 1 step. As a policy decision, there are challenges. And implementation as a manufacturer or customer to pay that extra money and implement is also a challenge. And monitoring those implementation is also a challenge. But I would like to see the biggest challenge here is the last man, is the operator. Have we created an awareness? Like I want to move to automobile thing. We have created safety belts. Then nobody was wearing it. So we created safety belt warning system. Then somebody puts it behind his back and, puts the thing and he still drives. So I think 3 major points I would like to quickly, one is bringing the awareness and making them accept why it has to be done. And third, making them accountable. I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for all of us in future. And the customer would expect us to do a lot of favor in this. Otherwise, all items will be in the machine, but still we will face accidents, still we will have issues. So we have to work on the basic, wanting to be there for the sake of wanting to be there is one thing, and wanting to be there organically and getting prepared completely and being there is what the customers would expect us to do. That's my take.
Sure. So just a follow-up question. How about from an emission standpoint in particular, how do you see emission norms getting implemented with respect to equipment in the mining sector in particular?
I don't think there's any major challenge because we have already rolled out the emission norms for the wheeled equipment. And I think we are moving to the next level now. So implementation-wise, there could be some challenges like availability of enablers, consumable enablers, like AdBlue at the remote part of the chain, and knowledge awareness creation. I don't think they are very, very big. Finally, operators have not much say on this. So here we are protected. So I don't think there's any major issue in terms of implementing it for mining also.
Sure. So Jaideep, moving to you, one of the themes that we talked about was improving productivity and efficiency. How can we get more output from our equipment and therefore make the construction industry job sites more efficient? How do you see that panning out? And in our roadmap, we shared some of the technologies that we see getting adopted. Your views on this, please.
So I think, there's a lot more acceptance of telematics, right? And also all the manufacturers, a lot of the companies in the C industry are now embracing that, right? The customers are now understanding the benefit of the telematics. They are willing to pay for it. They're willing to pay for the licenses, right? And even if it comes free of charge in the first few years' time, they actually have to own the licenses and pay for it. So I think that acceptance is coming. The customers are now seeing the benefit that if they can look into the performance, if they can look into the downtime, if they can get the warning signals that the machine needs maintenance at a particular point of time, I think that is what is getting acceptance. And I think that will go a long way in improving the productivity, on the job sites, right, Second, I'll say, another theme which is picking up again more, I'll talk about the crushing and screening industry, materials processing industry, is the mobility, right? So things which were being done probably 50 kilometers away from actually where the material has to be used is now being done in situ, and that is where people are coming and going for the mobiles more, right? And I think the mobile concept will catch up into other parts of the C industry as well, wherever it has not yet been very prevalent. But say in the materials processing segment, I mean, that is where we see most of the customers now actually opting for mobility. They understand the benefit of moving from one, after a job gets over, from one site to another site, so they can use better usage of the machines, less downtime, less time to kind of put up the plant and remove the plant. So I think telematics and mobility are two big things. The other thing which I'll say, which was also a part of your vision statement, I think safety, sometimes we see safety just as a bodily harm, or somebody getting hurt, somebody killed, right? But safety has a very good correlation with the productivity and efficiency, right? I'll talk about my company, right, the company which I represent, and we have seen globally the factories which we have got globally having the best safety records are also the most efficient and productive factories. They also have the most I'll say happy employees through the surveys, right? So there's a direct correlation. If you can give your operators on the job site a safe working environment, I think that will go a long way in improving the productivity and efficiency of your machinery. And I think as an industry body, as individual manufacturers, we need to kind of take more interest into that in terms of educating our customers. We have seen a lot of our customers not willing to let their operators go out for 4 days for a training program, right? Wherein you can train them on the skills, on the safety parameters. And there's a lot of resistance again from the customer side that they don't want to release their manpower for even 2-3 days training program. So I think those are the kind of things which I think as an industry body we need to work along with our customer base and say like this is going to be a long way in terms of mutually being beneficial both for the kind of the manufacturers as well as the end customers. So yeah, so these are the couple of things which I'll say from my side.
Yeah, so moving to you, Vivekanand, we talked about alternate fuels, but one of the challenges is it really available, especially in some of the remote locations? And yeah, how do you see the adoption of that panning out?
I think that's a great question, and this has been a big topic of discussion for the industry for the last several quarters, I would say. Because when it comes to the alternate fuel, I think before we go too far into the alternate fuel, we need to just step back and then look at the broader objective. Because at the end of the day, the primary objective is to ensure that we are becoming environmentally sensible. And alternate fuel is definitely one of the key enablers. And if you were to really look at some of the aspects of the technology vision document, it really talks about how do we ensure that the available technology is optimally used in a way that it's actually environmentally sustainable. Because we do have a significant amount of opportunity there itself. So that will be the step one. And having said that, to your question on the alternate fuels, yes, there has been definitely a significant amount of challenge on the availability of the alternate fuel. And that's one of the reasons, if you were to really look at it, one thing which needs to be part of the enabling infrastructure as part of the technology vision document is to really just have those basic infrastructure available at the job sites. Because it's slightly different from an automotive mindset, because automotives actually play on the mainstream areas, and if you were to really look at the job sites which will be on a remote place, and it's important as much as we really think about building that infrastructure in place for the automotives, we need to really look at how we can actually make this infrastructure available on all those job sites so that this alternate fuel becomes a viable option. But as I said, the biggest opportunity here is to really just see how are we really optimizing the existing technology to its fullest potential. I think we have a lot of opportunity there. And then we can actually just go to the next level of making sure that we are putting the enabling infrastructure to make sure that the alternate fuel adoption becomes a lot more incentivized to the users.
Thank you very much, Vivekanand. I believe that's all the time that we have for the panel discussion. But let me just summarize. I think clearly, the three themes that we talked about, job site safety, then looking at solutions, and finally sustainability. Those are themes that we are seeing across the board, both here in India as well as globally, as the key themes for the construction equipment industry. And to make some of these new technologies happen on the ground, I think an ecosystem approach is very necessary. We all have to come together, in educating our customers, skilling the operators, and having initiatives that are really about building competitiveness of the industry. So on that note, I want to thank all the panelists. Thank you very much for sharing your views. And with that, back to you, please.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, a big, big round of applause. And of course, that goes without saying, I'd love to have Mr. V. Vivekanand to present his closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kavan, Jaideep, and Moses for the engaging discussion on the adoption of technology. And I think a couple of things which really came up as a key takeaway is technology is not actually going to be a nice to have, and it's a must have, number one. And going back to why it's a must to have, and I know, Jaideep, you brought in a point that safety shouldn't be really thought about in the negative context. And I do concur with your views that some of the most safest plants are the most productive plants, and I'm sure some of the safest job sites would always be the most efficient job site. And I think that's definitely acknowledgement that needs to happen, and we have a lot of role to play to make sure that we are actually driving home that message. And when it comes to the solution side of it, I do agree. I think, Jagdeep, you brought in a good point about connectivity and mobility. And I think that's something which is already happening as we speak in some of the industries. And I think we will definitely need to play our role to make sure that we are able to actually just bump up that adoption rate to the fullest extent, because it's something which is available. And we just need to really just consciously work on making sure that the customers are adopting it. And the other one is you already gave some good examples on the adoption of the safety practices and sustainability practices on the aggregate industry. And I think that's something which we need to recognize, that as much as we really talk about the industry wanting to measure, that there are definitely packets of excellence which are there in the industry. And it's up to us to really just make sure that how are we really just showcasing that packets of excellence and then selling the value story to the end user in a way that they are actually encouraged to adopt safety as well as the sustainability. And I think, Moses, you brought in a good point of this industry being a little more unique in terms of the ownership structure. It's not like a typical other industry where the consumers are just a mere consumers, and we have a strong diversity of consumers and everybody has got their own preferences. And it's important that we as an industry recognize that diversity in the consumers and then make sure that we are actually just driving that value proposition in a way that each and every segment of the consumers will actually just embrace it as we want them to be. And lastly, on the policy framework, and I think you did brought in a point about whether we want to be actually lagging behind or leading. And as we speak, we are a blend of both. But we do have a unique opportunity that if you were to really just pursue this vision document much more aggressively and cohesively, ICEMA definitely can actually be just leading the adoption, by virtue of which we can actually just set an example of how the world should embrace technology in a way that the safety, sustainability, and solutions are actually taken in the right spirit while we shape the nation's infrastructure. So with that said, thanks, Kavan, for articulating the discussion, and also thanks to the entire PwC team for putting forward. And thanks, Jaideep and Moses, for sharing your thoughts and insights about technology. And with this, I thank you for listening to this, and then with this, we will end this session. Thank you.
Well, as our leaders are on the stage, I'd like to have the honor of having Mr. V. Vivekanand to help us to felicitate all our key leaders on stage once. First up, thank you so much, Kavan, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Mr. Kavan Mukhtiar. Thank you, Mr. Jaideep, for your key insights. Thank you, Mr. E. Moses, for sharing your insights today. And Kavan, if I could request you to help us also to felicitate Mr. V. Vivekanand. And with that, if I may request our entire panel to please step forward for a group photograph all together. Let's make this moment iconic and historic for each and every one of them. Let's give them a big, big round of applause. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, and thanks for the patience. The changeover takes some time, and thanks for your patience. It's really great to have a full audience post-lunch as well. So welcome back to the second panel of the day as part of the ICEMA annual session. And it's my pleasure on behalf of Team ICEMA to welcome Shri Sanjeet Singh, Senior Advisor, Economics and Finance and Disinvestment, Trade and Commerce, Niti Aayog, Government of India. Can we welcome him with a big round of applause for giving us the time? And also I welcome all the other panel members on the dais. It is an honor to have Shri Sanjeet Singh ji as the guest of honor with us and listen to his views on the government's policies that are driving investment and growth of the manufacturing sector in India. We deeply appreciate the role that Niti Aayog is playing in shaping the nation's policies as members of the construction equipment industry. The dynamic landscape of infrastructure and construction presents numerous challenges and opportunities, and we are eager to listen to your views and collaborate with Niti Aayog to realize our vision for the CE industry. The Indian construction equipment industry, with about 8.5 billion US dollar turnover, is currently the world's third largest industry as one country. Our Vision Plan 2030 that we released in 2021 envisages a threefold increase in the market size of construction equipment, and we aim to reach $25 billion sales by 2030 and established India as the manufacturing and export hub of construction equipment by 2030. Of course, a large part of the growth will come from domestic growth itself. Given the excellent results for the previous fiscal 22-23, where the construction equipment industry grew by 26%, and for the first time we crossed 1 lakh pieces of equipment in sales, we are nearer to the target than ever before. We believe very strongly that getting to the 250,000 unit objective that we have set for ourselves is definitely within our reach, especially with the amount of focus that the government of India has been putting on infrastructure growth and the amount of money they have committed to it. So to fully realize this potential, the industry needs to relentlessly pursue the twin objectives of attracting large-scale investment and enhancing production capacity and level of indigenization, as well as competitiveness of its products in the global markets. So obviously, the growth of infrastructure in the country needs quite a large increase in the capacity of equipment production in the country. And that is one part which will drive. The other is that in order to be competitive in the world, we need to be able to produce at the right level of cost, but also at the right level of quality, which can be exported. That said, I should still say that today our indigenization level is reasonably high, and as an industry, we are also exporting to more than 100 countries from India, including the advanced markets. In view of the government strategy of pursuing economic growth through creation of world-class infrastructure, the CE industry, which is a critical enabler of infrastructure projects and accounts for around 20% of total project costs, has an increasingly important role to play in the task of nation building. With the government heavily investing in large-scale infra projects, the demand for CE equipment in the country is increasing and is expected to rise even more steeply in the foreseeable future. At the same time, the CE industry's product gain recognition and repute on the basis of their quality and technology. Export demand is also expected to rise. In order to meet the rising demand, we need to augment our production capacity on a priority basis. And given the rapid advancement in construction technology, as well as emphasis on sustainability, the augmentation of capacities will involve both innovation to meet the evolving needs of the infrastructure and other construction projects, as well as investment required to finance this innovation and capacity building. An enabling policy and regulatory environment to encourage greater indigenization, research and development in smart technologies, and adoption of innovations is imperative to make CE industry's product efficient, globally competitive, and environmentally sustainable. A robust supply chain ecosystem, which is the backbone of a vibrant industry, essentially requires creation of economy-wide synergies through increased exports and value chain participation across all industry players, as well as large-scale industrial investment, both domestic and foreign, to boost manufacturing and support growth of MSMEs. thus catalyzing cost efficiency and global competitiveness through increased indigenization of components. The government's initiatives, such as the PLI scheme and trade promotion strategy for sea industry, can enable it to attract higher investment and improve indigenization levels, aligning it with the government's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat on one hand. On the other hand, it can facilitate higher export growth. The government has taken a number of initiatives to address the financing needs of the sector, including the formation of NABFID, National Bank for Financing Infrastructure Development, the IFCL, Indian Infrastructure Finance Company Limited, and introducing instruments such as InvITs to facilitate public as well as private investment into the infrastructure sector. However, in India, the public sector has been predominantly financing infrastructure projects, with private sector's role remaining limited. Since access to enhanced long-term finance is critical to the desired pace of development of infrastructure, as well as to cope with the increasing demand for construction equipment, mobilizing significant private sector investment would also be important going forward. Given the various manufacturing challenges faced by the industries in India, sea industry in particular, government support will be essential to address the challenges and enable industries to become competitive. We are very fortunate to have Shri Sanjit Singh ji and some other key thought leaders from the industry and Invest India to share their views on the topic of the discussion today, which I am sure will generate some good ideas for managing the current challenges and driving the growth of the industry to help it realize its vision and become a strong leading player in the global market.
So a very good evening to all present. Mr. Dimitrov Krishnan, President of ICEMA, Mr. Anand Sundaresan, Mr. Iswaran, my friend who's here from Deloitte, my other esteemed panelists, and all the distinguished members of ICEMA, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, let me thank you for this most wonderful opportunity to be able to come and interact with you and to be able to come and share some of the thoughts which we at NITI are become aware of when we deal with the industry as a whole, the economy as a whole, and then with the other policy-making bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, you may recall that the Honorable Prime Minister, when he was speaking at the Red Fort last year, he had declared Panch Pran, or the 5 pledges, which every Indian must take. The first among the 5 pledges was the resolve to transform India into a developed nation, Viksit Bharat. A developed nation would not just be an economic powerhouse, it would be a global hub of technology, innovation, and a global champion for climate action. Now, I must share with you that when I just entered this hall, I was given the good news that your session is post-lunch, which anyway tends to be more calm and quieter. But more importantly, when I had learnt about the fact that we are having leaders from the ICEMA sector who will be present in this meeting, I took the permission of your president to speak on certain areas which may appear that they do not address the specific concerns. Like, I will be speaking about them also of the industry, but allow me to share with you the broader vision. And why I say this is because an industry of your size is a very important player when we talk about the growth of India, when we talk about the development of India. We are the ones, we are in the government, we can only make policies, but you are the ones who really execute it on the ground. So it becomes even more important to once again reaffirm why we are moving in a particular direction. If we say infrastructure development, yes, it's going to lead to many benefits to flow for your industry, but why infrastructure alone? So kindly allow me this, will that be all right? Okay. So $5 trillion economy, India is becoming a very common synonym. And it's now like next to taken for granted. We are already looking at a $10 trillion economy in the next, by 2047 or maybe even earlier. Now, there is an increasing, when we talk to people who are from the global policy making bodies, there's a clear recognition that India is there. India is moving at a rapid pace. India is going to grow at 7 to 8%. India is going to be the fastest growing major economy in this coming decade. When we meet with people who come and discuss with us in Niti Aayog, they say, where else can we get an assured return for the next decade? So we are here. So I would like to say this, and I say it very often, that India has fast become a place, a country, where you cannot not be seen to be doing business with. It's a must-do business, you know. So it's not just about, okay, because of the China factor, anything but China, India is getting the spillover. That may be the case, but increasingly India, because of its own strengths, is fast becoming a place which is attracting a lot of investment. Now, the important part to understand here, and which most of you already know about, is what is the distinguishing factor of India's global story. India's growth story is that of inclusive growth. And second is going to be a green growth. I will dwell on it a little bit more. So before that, let's also recognize the fact that India's growth trajectory so far has seen the growth of the India's services sector. In fact, as much as 45% of the global GDP, of India's GDP, and now it has risen to 55% of India's GDP, comes from the services sector. So India is increasingly recognized as a global powerhouse of services, whereas the manufacturing share has risen from about 15% to about 17% in 2022. So we are still very far away. So many, in fact, economists go and say that, you know, maybe India has advanced straight from agriculture economy to a services economy and has skipped the manufacturing economy part, right? But that, of course, is changing because there's a clear focus. We in the government who make the policy or give policy advice, that the government is very focused that our goal is to have at least 25% of the GDP coming from manufacturing alone. So if we are looking at a $20 trillion economy, at least $5 trillion will come from manufacturing by 2047. So that is the kind of goal we are pushing. For such kind of growth, infrastructure, now this is much closer to home, right? Infrastructure is acknowledged as a key driver of such growth. Now, traditionally, though, infrastructure is associated with physical infrastructure, roads, ports, power, transmission lines, railways. But since 2014 rather, India's development story has been closely linked with a strong focus not just on the physical infrastructure, like this one we are used to, but also on the social and the digital infrastructure. Now, the 2023 budget, which you all are aware of, gave a very powerful thrust to this three-dimensional focus, this three-dimensional thrust on infrastructure. And the whole idea was, how do we accelerate inclusive growth? So I was making this point to really flag it, that India's infrastructure growth is to be seen in this context, that it is an important part of how India is going to grow as an inclusive society. How it's going to grow where everybody benefits from the development of the nation. Now, if you look at the Government of India's expenditure, which has increased from 1.7%, the capital expenditure, has increased from 1.7% in 2014 to 2.9% of the GDP in 2022-23, and then in the last budget, 23-24, we saw a massive jump to 10 lakh crores, which is 3.3% of the GDP, being allocated for infrastructure. Now, Ministry of Railways, of course, got its highest ever allocation, followed by Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Now, these targeted investments are aimed at not only to create the physical infrastructure and improve connectivity, of course, but also to create jobs, to ensure that the growth story reaches far beyond a couple of centers of growth. And of course, to cushion ourselves against the global headwinds which we have been exposed to, not just in the pandemic time, before the pandemic also, but every global crisis exposes us to these kind of headwinds. Now, let me dwell a little bit more on the infra development. If you notice, if you just take the past one decade, the beginning of the decade saw the first 4-5 years, that is about 2014 to 2019, there was a push on infrastructure, but what was most evident was that we are focusing on essential items of consumption for the poor, such as toilets, cooking gas, access to electricity, access to healthcare for the poor, drinking water. These were the main thrust areas. Not that the roads and bridges and the airports were taking a backseat. They were there, but the main story was infrastructure for addressing the needs of the poor. The thrust on infrastructure has become much more pronounced in the past 3 years. So it is widely acknowledged that we have a serious infrastructure deficit. There's no hiding from that fact. And it is holding up India's competitiveness. If India is to prosper and create jobs for our youthful population, we have to increase our global competitiveness. And for this, we need to invest highly in our infrastructure. I was again positioning it, why is the government focused on creating more infrastructure? Now, it's commonly discussed whenever we discuss infrastructure, we say, oh, look, China has done so well, China has done much better. What about China? Why is it that India can't develop as quickly as them? So very commonly, don't we discuss this very often? That look at Chinese infrastructure, look at ours. Now, there are many parallels you can draw, many learnings we can take, but there are a couple of very distinctive features which I must place before this August House. First, of course, is the fact that India is a democracy. India is selecting the kind of infrastructure we need. I just named a couple of them. These are the social infrastructure which we are focusing on creating. So it is our choice as a democratic nation. We have decided that this is what we will do. So along with, I have worked in the rural road sector about 10 years ago, rather 20 years ago. There, along with the National Highways Program, we had launched the National Rural Roads Program. I'm sure many of you may have been associated with it. So the same kind of efficiencies which were brought into the National Highways Program were also simultaneously brought into the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. So this is a decision which was taken by a government which is absolutely aware of the needs and necessities of our country. The second, so the Finance Secretary had in fact used this term, and I really have kept it in my little book. It says, look, India may have a very complicated way about going about selecting the infrastructure, but it is much more sensitive. It is very sensitive to the needs of our people. The second important thing is something which is very evident to most of us. Chinese infrastructure development, in their rush to create infrastructure, has jettisoned all the needs for a green infrastructure, jettisoned all the needs for environmental friendly infrastructure. Also, they have overbuilt. They've got huge unutilized capacities today. These are the distinctive features which I mentioned to you right in the very beginning, that inclusive growth and green growth. These are the mantras of India's development story. So India, when it builds its infrastructure, is going to build what we actually need. We are going to build it very, very efficiently, and we are going to ensure that we follow the green pathways of development. We will not sacrifice environment, the protection at the cost of our growth, be it infrastructure or be in manufacturing. So of course, there are immense benefits of creating infrastructure, direct benefits in terms of job creation, which most of you are already aware of. So I'll not dwell on it very much. But in fact, there is a rough calculation which we use that for every 1 crore invested in the infrastructure sector, we create about 200, 250 man-years, direct and indirect, both unskilled and skilled kind of jobs. So this is a massive multiplier effect it has in terms of job creation and other benefits also. And I promised Dimitrov that there will be some pointers for you, so for you to take away, which you can probably emphasize the importance of your sector when you make your representation. Now, it is with this belief that in the past decade, we have built 40,000 kilometers of railway lines. We have, in fact, increased the laying of metro lines to 6 kilometers per month, which was about 600 meters, by the way, less than a kilometer a month 10 years ago. The gas pipelines have now reached 630 districts in India, when there were less than 100 just a decade ago. And similarly, the number of airports have gone up to 148 from about 74 a decade ago. So these are just of some of the various thrust areas which the government has followed, and these, of course, have created massive opportunities for growth. Now, as I mentioned, that the whole discussion on India's infrastructure push, whether it be MORTH, whether it be railways pushing ahead, or for ports and airports, the whole idea is these are bringing huge opportunities for construction, mining, and allied equipment, which, of course, is the direct subject of this association. So beyond the capex push, the government has taken important steps, which some of them already have been highlighted, so I'll not dwell on them too much. Now, new policy measures announced, including a more conducive business environment, more transparency. For example, you may have read very recently that there is a law which is coming into force, which removes a number of redundant laws which tend to criminalize simple economic activities, economic offenses rather. So they have been decriminalized. Now they have been replaced from prisons and fines to simple penalties, wherever, and that also in very few and rare cases. And this has been a very clear direction from the top, that this has to be done and done on a mission mode. Similarly, when we talk about GST, this is, of course, you spoke about the financing needs of the sector. So I think with the GST coming in, it's going to lend a big lifeline to the leasing industry, as also the fact that the GST rate for construction equipment has come down in at least many of the categories from 28 to 18%. The insolvency and bankruptcy code, I think, has also helped a lot in declogging a number of stressed asset cases which have been piling up in the various different fora. I would like to speak more about the Atmanirbhar Bharat and the PLI scheme, but I have noticed that the next session is all about PLI proposal being presented, so I'm going to skip that portion. And I'll come down specifically to the last section of my speech, which is about investment and competitiveness. So let me say that the relationship between investment and competitiveness is symbiotic. Increased investment enhances competitiveness by providing the resources and capabilities necessary to compete effectively. And on the other hand, a competitive environment, once it's in a place, it attracts more investment as business seeks to capitalize on growth opportunities. We in the government are very acutely aware of our role, that we play a critical role in fostering an environment which attracts investments and competitiveness by implementing favorable economic policies, now providing a conducive business environment and promoting innovation, investing in infrastructure, and supporting education and skill development. But the private sector has a very defining role in this whole process. And the very first role which I would really like to place before for your consideration is, please talk to us more often. You must really reach out to us and let us know what is it that hurts your industry, where is it that you want the government's policies to be moved. And here I must share with you that we have a unique role in Niti Aayog. We are a part of the government, yet we are not really a ministry. We have the benefit of a convening power. We can bring in a number of ministries to talk to each other. We can bring in a number of other organizations, a number of industrial organizations to come and talk to us. We also can get, and this is one of our major roles in Niti Aayog, to get the state governments to come and have a discussion with us. Because we reach out to the state governments in various manner. So my first request to, through this meeting today is please reach out with specific. There is no problem which is small. So please reach out with any challenge you have. Through your association is the best fora. And I must compliment ICEMA. They have been quite relentless in their pursuit of their interests, which they have marked out. And they have been really focusing on that, look, this is what we need to do for the industry. That's a very good sign. So please reach out more and more. We will definitely become the first sounding board. We will hear you out. We'll be happy to take your concerns to whichever part of the government it requires to be taken. Now, the construction equipment manufacturing is a very important sector. In fact, one of the most important sectors in terms of not only its size and scale, but the influence which it has, the impact which it has on the entire economy as a whole. So as we are seeing that the level of India's economy, and especially the infrastructure, is growing, the importance and the important role which this industry is going to play, it cannot be underplayed at all. Now, I would like to say this to you, that there is, in fact, no better time than now for this industry to really get up and grab with both hands this wonderful opportunity which is before you. Because this is the time you can really expand like you have never done in the past decade after decade. The question we need to ask ourselves is how to enhance capabilities, how to enhance the competitiveness and the level of indigenization in the construction equipment industry. And how do our people, our industry emerge as a global champion, a global player in this regard? Now, a couple of things which I would like to, I'm not offering you solutions, I'm just offering you some of the challenges which are there. And we would like to hear, in fact, I really would like to hear some responses which I can take back. For example, high quality construction is now more and more equipment based, and that's where the ICEMA comes in. Now, earth moving equipment or road construction equipment, concrete equipment, and I understand there are a number of representatives from all these sectors available today. Now, this is highly dependent on steel prices, for example. Now, how do we build defenses against the fluctuating steel prices? What solutions can we offer? Similarly, an assured supply of funds is very essential for this industry. Now, how do we strengthen the infrastructure and equipment finance companies? How do we, I understand that there was a report by Deloitte in March of 2022 titled Innovative Financing Solutions Accelerating India's Infrastructure Development. It gave some very good suggestions in this regard, how NBFCs play a critical role in the equipment financing sector. So can we discuss more about that? How can we get that going? Is there a clear advantage in that area? Similarly, skilling. How do we invest in skilling? Now, we have a dedicated ministry which deals with skilling. We have many innovative programs in this direction. Can you get back to us and say, look, these are the kind of people, these are the kind of skills which are necessary, so and these are the requirement. So therefore, again, I would implore that there has to be a two-way dialogue between the industry and the arms of the government, because that is where the policy is going to be fed and moved in the right direction. I can't go on, but I will stop here. And in fact, I would like to hear some the views from this August House. And once again, thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for a very wonderful address, and President DK and everybody else on the dais, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you. And Mr. Singh, you just wanted to understand as to what some of the asks from the association are. So here I am on behalf of ICEMA to really present to you the representation that we have from the association as far as the production-linked incentive program is concerned. What we have done, and also to our members, ladies and gentlemen, we had, with all your consultations over the last many months, it's not been a very easy process because we wanted to make it very clear and very concise, and to be honest, very, very precise in its approach, so that we sort of have a very convincing program for the government to invest in. So I'll just very quickly over the next 7-8 minutes run you through this, give you a very high-level view, and I think DK and Vivek and everybody else have the full details that you can discuss later as a group. So just to give you a context as to where we are, right? I think in his inaugural address for this session, DK mentioned that, we are trying to be a 25 billion organization. So our point of arrival is about a 4x from the current, I've taken 2021 data to be very specific. So 2021, we are at about 6.5 billion. We obviously grown a little bit more, but we are trying to be at about 25 billion. So we are looking at close to about 3-odd-x growth that we are looking at. More important, I think the point of arrival of crossing the 250,000 units, which essentially means that we are going to again be 2.5x in terms of volume. So there is a strong volume growth. There is significant revenue realization also that we are looking at. And the third, third after US and China, as DK mentioned, but now we are trying to be the second after China in the near term. And I say near term because it's 2030. So there's a significant point of arrival and vision that we have for our industry going forward. And there are some fantastic demand side drivers. I think Mr. Singh mentioned about the demand side drivers very eloquently. I think 3 major ones. One is obviously the national infrastructure pipeline. We have a 1.4 trillion program there. We have the Gati Shakti master plan, which is aimed at creating a very integrated network for us, which means that we drive a lot of efficiency and effectiveness in our transportation as well as in our infrastructure models. And third, the national monetization plan, which has a lot of implication for us as construction equipment companies, trying to unlock value as much as about $80+ billion. So very clearly, strong demand side drivers, especially over the last couple of years, which have been announced. And if you look at where we play, in most of these sectors which are part of the NIP and the NMP and the Gati Shakti master plan, I think the construction equipment as a percentage of total project cost, you would say that the most of them are in significantly higher double digits. So therefore, I think it's just not about demand side drivers. Our captivity of the revenue pool in these demand side drivers are very high. But quite naturally, this is a very interesting story, but I think we have some, I would say, challenges for us to address. 2 or 3 challenges, right? And I think first one is economies of scale. Really look at, while I said we are the 3rd largest, if you really look at the domestic market, I think we are a significant 3rd compared to what China and the others are. So I think there is a big dimension with regard to scale that we need to catch up. Second is our export competitiveness, right? While we'll come to the program, which is not really about exports, but I think there is a strong requirement for us to drive into export competitiveness. You look at our exports as a percentage of global market, pretty low compared to the rest that we are talking about. Third, possibly a combination of the domestic demand side as well as our participation in the global value chain. Our localization content is pretty low. So very satisfied doing a lot of imports. 50% of it is imported, whereas the rest of them have actually crossed global, localization in a big way. And more important with that, I think also the supply side drivers which are impacting it. Interest costs, we all know. I think we all complain about it. So pretty much high. Then we have manufacturing efficiency. So just to give you a context, I didn't put it here. I think Mr. Singh will know the details much better than all of us. Total factor productivity for us is rising only at roughly about 2 to 2.2%, right, every year. Whereas, other competing countries are having their factor productivity at about 3.5 to 4%, which means that on a higher base, double the productivity literally, not just of labor, right? It's all about total factor productivity. And therefore, with all this, I think the tariffs are also higher. So one of the things that we also want to address is really how do we overcome a lot of these disability factors that we are thinking about. And therefore, I think one, we spoke about the disability factor of manufacturing cost, high cost of finance that we discussed, a low export competitiveness, as I spoke about, as well as, fundamentally a higher logistics cost, which I think in the near term will get offset by all the infrastructure developments that we have, where we have a part to play. So therefore, we said we would need support from the government. And the support from the government would be in 3 areas. First one is, how can we really drive import substitution? We are at a 50% import substitution, point of arrival is 70. How do we go and do it? So point number 1 there. Point number 2, how can we really accelerate our domestic value addition? So more of imports, less of DVA, how can we really do that? And the third one is, therefore, how can we have a resultant employment generation? I think Mr. Singh mentioned the collateral impact that an investment in infrastructure has on the marketplace. Very similarly, an infrastructure in construction equipment has a significant downstream impact, be it in terms of operators, be it in terms of skilled labor, be it in terms of SMEs. I think the entire chain gets activated. So we said, how can we accelerate that? And all towards enabling manufacturing investments for Make in India. So we requested, I think that's the submission that we have now, blessed by the Governing Council of ICEMA. We have a PLI proposal that we have submitted to the government, primarily focusing on 2 components. One is the OEMs as well as the tier companies within your association. Second one is the domestic value addition that we will have. So we have committed that we will move towards the domestic value addition because that's the most important requirement for us to generate a PLI. Third one is we'll also have deterministic sale values emanating out of it, which means that it's just not about basic value addition, but a strong value addition with a DSV in perspective. As well as, we have requested a 5-year PLI, which will have a 5-year PLI for both investments as well as for incentive disbursement. I think one on record that I want to place here is that, in ICEMA, we went through a very structured process for this. I think all of you in this room were involved. I think I want to thank the GC for being pretty patient about the process, because when we started it, we said we want to possibly get down to the last level of detail, which is generally not what people would do. So therefore, I think we went to each one of you, each one of your CFOs and each one of your leaders in the company, got into granular data, and therefore we have now been in a position to submit at a 6-digit HSN code the products that would be covered under the PLI to the government. So we've been extremely specific on the investments that we'll make, extremely specific on the products that would be covered, and therefore at a larger level the overall demand set that would be in place for the government. So in many ways, I think we're sort of giving them the assurance that, a PLI for ICEMA will potentially have the best outcome that the government can envisage. So I'll quickly get in for the last 2 minutes. So this is what I think the big picture for the government is. I think we'll encourage setup of large-scale manufacturing facilities together with the entire ambit of creating the next level supply chain. Together will create $4 billion worth of investments across the entire chain, not just people in the room, but the entire chain. Second is we'll actually have a significantly lower import requirement. And therefore, if you really look at it from 250,000 unit point of arrival in 2030, we would have saved about $3 billion of Forex. The third one is also the domestic manufacturing being made competitive. And to that extent, I think we'll also have a substantial access to the global market because, today we are also hindered by global competitiveness. And that would be another 3 billion of exports and possibly about a percentage of the global market compared to what it is today. Fourth one would also be employment generation. Today we employ across the entire chain about 3 million people or about 30 lakh people. I think the impact of this PLI and the resultant investments and therefore the resultant outcomes in terms of market sales would primarily generate about another 3 million of employment, which is essentially about 6.2 million at point of arrival. So substantially going with the inclusive growth model that Mr. Singh mentioned. And finally, I think is more important is our accelerated value addition, really creating not just economies of scope for us by the first 4, but also economies of scale, as a 25 billion industry, which will be in line to satisfy all the 3 pillars that the government is thinking about, NIP, NMP, Gati Shakti, and all the other infrastructure. So that submission, the plan that we have made to the government, and all I said in the numbers here, but this is essentially our submission to the government. So very quickly, a summary of all this to you. But following the tenets of what Mr. Singh just described about how It's just not about investments and outputs, but also creating a holistic environment for the marketplace. So thank you for the time. I just thought I'll take this opportunity to quickly brief you on this.
Good afternoon, everyone. And as we understand by now that we have gathered for a panel discussion on investment and localization in the construction equipment industry. So we have distinguished panel of experts from various segments within the construction equipment industry who will share their insights and perspectives on the significance of investment and localization and how it will drive growth and sustainability. So yeah, let's dive right into the discussion, and I'll start with the veteran, Mr. Anand Sundaresan. I have different topics I have jotted out, and I would like to start with the investment scenario and challenges. So my question to you, Mr. Sundaresan, is how has the investment scenario in the construction equipment industry has evolved over last few years? And what are the drivers and levers which are actually driving this growth? And what are some challenges, if you can talk about this industry is facing, especially in attracting the new investments in this sector?
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Bell, for asking this question. In the morning, we saw that Dimitro mentioned that the industry went down by about 8% between 2021 to 2022. And then it bounced back in the year 2023, which was one of the best years for us, reaching 100,000 units in the whole year. So if you take from 2017 until 2021 or so, or even today, the industry has grown at the rate of about 8% year on year. And, but if you see the actual installed capacity, the capacity is excess. We have excess capacity of manufacturing today. And the growth has not been, the investment has not been there much in the last few years because of various reasons. Because our, the supply chain ecosystem is not complete. So the manufacturers, as manufacturers, we are still dependent on a lot of imports of critical component. Our cost of investment, the cost of capital is very high. Because of this, our margins are under tremendous pressure. Added to this, in the recent past, we have seen that, the steel price went up, shot up like anything. It became double, and then, of course, now it has come down by 50%. So still, we are 50% higher than what it was in the early 2021. So the margins are really under pressure. So, nobody can think of really investing more because if you see the balance sheet of almost all the construction equipment manufacturers, you will see that everyone's the profitability has gone down in the last few years. Of course, there are exceptions always. There are companies who are exporting. They were saved. Fortunately for us, you can say that initially, if you look at it, the Indian manufacturers were not allowed to export out of India by most of us are multinational companies, and we had territorial restrictions to export to different countries. But now, in the last some years, I've seen that, this has, many of our overseas principals, they are allowing us to export to other countries. In fact, they are adding more and more countries to us, which means that what we are producing is not bad. But only thing is our costs are not competitive. The freight costs are very high. And because of this reason, whoever was able to export, they have been able to make a decent income. So these are some of the challenges what we had. Other than that, there is a slow pace of adoption of technology here. So in the last panel discussion, we saw a smart panel. We are taking the initiative of doing a lot of things, focusing on quality, focusing on productivity, focusing on safety and all these things. So there we need a lot of support from the government because policy is the most important thing. If the policy is there, all these things can be implemented and then there will be investment. So as of now, if you see the people who have export opportunities, they are utilizing their excess capacity for producing exporting, but that is not open to all of them. So basically the return on investment doesn't come. So in the last few years, if you look at it, the investment has been hardly about $175 million to $200 million, which is not much at all in our industry.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that perspective. And Mr. Sundaresan, you talked about, the supply chain, exports and cost competitiveness. And I would like to take it a little forward on the competitiveness of the Indian construction equipment industry. So my next question would be to Mr. Sakti Kumar. Mr. Sakti Kumar, what do you think? Where is the the Indian construction equipment industry is standing? How do you rate it as the level of the competitiveness it has, especially in the export market, and what do you think it is required to strengthen its presence in the international markets?
Right. Okay. So on the competitiveness of Indian manufacturing, I would say that we are well placed in the global market, but there are certain headwinds. Like already we saw that in the presentation, he showed where interest cost is very high, logistic cost is very high, and even on the labor side, we are very fortunate to have a big young population, but not properly skilled yet. So this is one aspect which can change, where we can get more young people skilled at much lower cost of manufacturing than what currently is happening. So the labor law implementation also is one of the critical things. Speeding up the process can help India. And there are other issues like in the destination where we are exporting, there is no fairness in the import duty to India versus China, for example. The Chinese product goes to Philippines with no tax, import tax, whereas Indian products have to pay 5%. This situation is there in many African and other markets as well. So this need also to be addressed by the government when they are coming out to the FTA or any other economic agreement, to consider that and make a level playing field for the Indian exporters. So that is very, very important. And certain things we believe is going to be addressed. We import a lot of hydraulic components, steel, for our domestic manufacturing also. In the PLI, one of the scheme is for special steel. We are hoping that whatever projects got approved in that should be able to meet our demand in the coming times, so that at least there we will be able to save at least 30% on the cost of what we are importing now to the new situation when domestically it is made. So these are some of the factors which can enhance our competitiveness for the time to come. And currently, the biggest advantage Indian products enjoying is this is the only place where big infrastructure construction activity is going on. And we already talked in many times it was repeated that 107,000 numbers are our total construction equipment. I don't think many emerging market, they don't have capacity for making machinery. So for them, Indian product will be the best solution, because at the cost and the quality what is available here, it will not be viable for small volumes to make factories. So India can slowly emerge as a factory for the world. And in some products, already leaving China, we control more than 40% of the global production in certain categories of machinery. I come from concreting side. The trailer pump numbers outside China globally, 30% is produced in India. I think this can be scaled up with this couple of points. What if taken care, we can really become a big manufacturing hub for construction machinery. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sakti Kumar. I think we talked about a lot of things: import of steel, export, skilling, labor laws, etc. So I'm gonna go to talk about a little bit about the government support and incentives, and therefore my next question will be for Mr. Singh. Uh, while while everybody is, the industry is the request and demanding for production link incentives, but apart from that, what do you think are the specific measures you think that they believe that the government should provide to encourage more investments in the construction equipment industry?
Yeah, so actually I thought I'll be hearing more, but anyway, you asked me. But let me respond. So you asked what specific steps the government can take. So honestly, this is the reason why I increasingly say that this is what you need to tell the government. Please understand, the government is increasingly, please don't allow us to think the way we want to think. Three generations haven't done business in construction equipment industry, in my case. So if you're going to ask me to start writing policy about the construction equipment industry, believe me, I'll get it all wrong. So my sincere request to you is that, therefore, you need to really engage very quickly. And let me give you an absolute clear example. What my friend Saktiji just mentioned about FTAs. I've been in the Commerce Ministry for some time, and we were engaging with FTAs and with developed countries, and exactly the country you mentioned, ASEAN, Korea, Japan, China also, but we have FTAs with these countries. Honestly, if you look at the record of how many times that the industry and the government really, in India, really get down to talking to identify their specific concerns, you can count them on your fingers. So we went ahead and entered into those agreements. And I will say it very clearly, we actually went in blind. So if you have certain challenges which you are facing now, we all are equally to be, take responsibility for that. Now, let me share this with you also, and we read it about every day. We have already engaged with Japan and Korea, two most advanced nations. We are engaging now with the UK. We are going to be engaging with the European Union, which are very, very tough customers. We are going to be engaging with Canada. We've already dealt with Australia and UAE recently. Many other countries with whom we are going to be engaging with are all on the cards. This is a government policy that we will engage. India, given its new status, is going to engage. How do we, for example, you mentioned this, how do we ensure that we get more market access in those countries? What are the barriers which we perceive them? It's only a person who's actually doing business would be able to tell you, look, this is the market barrier. Their tariff may be very low, but they have some other market barrier, right? Now, steel you mentioned. Yes, there is a PLI for steel and specialized steel also. There's a huge investment, and the investment is going to far exceed what has been catered to under the PLI. Major players are investing heavily. But there is going to be no direct direction from the government of India that, look, the green steel, the specialized steel has to be supplied to the people in India. It's going to be a commercial agreement, right? Now, you can say that, can the government bring in an export duty? Yes, we have brought it in earlier also. But is that the way you would like to really take it forward? So this is for the industry to decide, correct? So my request would again remain that whatever steps you would like the government to take, it is for the industry to really sit down and work out, look, this is what I need. And my sincere request to you in FTAs is, in the next couple of years, we will have engaged with all the G7 nations, barring USA, perhaps USA too. Every nation we would have engaged with them. So we all have markets in these nations. Can we really sit down, mount a number of delegations to meet the Commerce Ministry, meet the concerned ministries, to ensure that your interests are well taken care of when these agreements are signed? We will be very happy to receive any request from the ICEMA in this regard. Please identify clearly what are your interests. These are the interests, this is the area which I'm facing this. So in fact, you could engage, maybe like a Deloitte or a PwC to help you do that. Put down your interests, share it with the government so that we can really push them hard. A suggestion, for example, has come. It came in the last session which we had and earlier also. Suppose there is a large order, let's say, which comes up in the European Union or in the UK. there was a demand that can we ask our High Commission there or the Indian Embassy there to be able to really quickly take on board that, look, this huge requirement is coming up in this particular nation, and quickly communicate it down the line to India that, look, we have suppliers in India who can fulfill these orders. Now, we presently do not have this chain established, institutionalized. So will the industry like this, such a thing to be institutionalized? So please help us institutionalize it. We'll be happy to do that, So there's so much of requirement of this kind of stuff which is going to be outside also. So many initiatives like this. So I'm sorry for turning the question around that, what would the government like to do? In fact, I would like, what would you like the government to do? Okay?
Thank you very much. I think more engagements with the government is and clarity, I think, which is required. So since we are discussing government support and incentives, my next question to you is, Mr. Krishnan, the production link incentives we are talking about for the sector, can it really produce a multiplier effect, not only for the OEMs, but also for the component manufacturers and the allied, in the industries?
I can answer it in one line, refer to Ishwaran's presentation. So because that's exactly what we have been working on. Absolutely. I think for our industry, when the PLI scheme announcements and proposals were starting to be made, when we started to work on it, we felt that it is a bit challenging to put together a proposal that is credible, that we can actually follow through on. And actually, we commissioned Deloitte, who joined us in this initiative, and we've been working through this. And it's very clear that to work out the details and to be able to make sure that whatever we put in the proposal and then the benefits that we receive from the government, that can we make sure that in the time to come, we can actually live up to it. So we have been working on it, and the proposal that Ishwaran presented has shown the impact. The focus is on, of course, OEMs, but also the tier 1 suppliers. The idea being that if we cover these two, tier 2 and tier 3 automatically gets impacted and gets supported. I think the biggest impact in our case will be in the area of employment. And I think infrastructure development is a focus of the government. The multiplier effect of infra investments is already well known in the market. And in the construction equipment industry, being part of it, having to grow its production capacities in the country, given the amount of investment that needs to happen in the infrastructure space, means that we will need to have in our entire value chain large amount of investment and hence directly drive employment generation. We have estimated that our current, in our industry, in the whole ecosystem, there are about 3 million people employed, and we expect that will get doubled to 6 million, 6.2 million by the time this whole cycle is complete. So we do believe that there will be a multiplier effect. But other than that, I would also say beyond PLI, there are many other things, and that is why ICEMA has been working with its vision plan. And one of the pillars is only the PLI pillar. The other pillars have been in the area of technology and indigenization, which is what we have been quite actively focused on. Financing ecosystem, as well as skilling as another area which we need to increase the skill level. Shakti mentioned about the skill level and hence the impact on productivity, both in our industry but also our user industry, are actually definitely factors that we need to address. And hence, I do not believe PLI is the silver bullet, but PLI is a great enabler. But we as an industry need to take ownership of our entire value chain activities and make sure that we are working at multiple initiatives that will take it forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krishnan. I think, yes, we will talk about technology and indigenization, but this is the last question as far as the government support is concerned. So I'm going to go to Mr. Ramesh Palagari, and my question to you is, sir, that given that the equipment industry requires substantial capital investments and in research and development and also technology advancements. So what role do you think, in your opinion, the government can play to encourage innovation and research and development in this sector?
I think basically research and development is the responsibility of the industry. And I think all OEMs, we are working on it and we are continuously upgrading technology, innovation, etc. And to be fair, I would say at least the Ministry of Surface Transport has done a fantastic job in allowing contractors, basically our customers, that they can use any new technology which has been proven worldwide. So there's no need for us to get a approval from the consultants, etc., which was a big nuisance earlier. So that's a big step. The second big step is the contractor need not pass on the benefit. If he gets even a financial benefit out of using a new technology, he need not pass on to the government. That's the second big step. So I think it's for us to work with our contractors and ensure that they adopt the technology to do a better job and also complete the road faster. But what is the limiting factor? Since Mr. Singh is here, I thought I should raise this issue. You know, for us to get new technology to India, new systems and processes, you know, the pre-qualification norms for contractors has to be improved. You know, while we are building a lot of infrastructure in India, we have to ask ourselves, are we building world-class infrastructure? Something, a road, what we build, will it last for the next 20 years or 25 years? I think that's a question mark. So how can we incentivize the contractors who do a quality job? And this should get reflected in the bidding process. I think that is very, very important in the long term if we have to build world-class infrastructure in India. And I think once we have those contractors who have that vision and the intent to build quality stuff, then it's very easy for us to, you know, bring new technologies and for them also to adopt it. So I would say from the industry side, I think we have to work on R&D and continue to do that and get technologies. But it will help if the bidding process is much more stringent, like what it is worldwide, where contractors also have a rating based on the past performance in terms of quality and delivery.
Thank you for sharing that interesting perspective. Bidding processes has to be improved and adaptability of technology at the contractors level. So we have heard a variety of perspectives on the government support and incentives. Let's shift our focus on to the another aspect of the theme, which is emerging green technologies and sustainability. So my next question is to Mr. VG Shakti Kumar. Things are changing, changing market dynamics and technological advancements. So what are the emerging investment opportunities for the construction equipment industry, and how can the existing the players can leverage or capitalize from these changing the dynamics and technological advancements?
Whenever there is a black swan event, we use words like VUCA, Bani, and at least the last 1 year, nobody is using them anymore. We were seriously, all of us in the association were involved in de-risking our own operation. When there was issue with the chips not coming or the container not available from China, or when the war started in Ukraine and components stopped coming from Europe, I think we were seriously looking into ways how we can keep our operation risk-free. So a lot of work has gone in the last 2-3 years to find alternate sources in India. Today morning, we heard that between June 22 to June 23, the exchange appreciation is 5.3%, which means without doing anything, a company which has a 40% import component will have to go to the market and ask for 2% price increase with that type of exchange variation. So we need to de-risk. And this is an opportunity. I think the whole thing got increased momentum after the COVID event happened. The opportunities are there, be it product, be it component, or service, or R&D. In all the areas, the opportunity is there for existing player and new player. I think in March we heard in the finance conclave, the person from railway board was talking about India to lay 30,000 kilometers of new rail line, in greenfield rail line, requires something like 2,000 track laying machines. That's a projection he gave, and because he told about that, because he has a concern that how he is going to get the machinery. So that's an opportunity for any of us sitting here to go and start something like that. And in the component level, we talked about already, all of us use a lot of hydraulic components. And there are people sitting here representing the association of, because we are part of our affiliated membership. There are people sitting here from those areas also. I mean, we could show them what all we are importing currently and make them understand, and if they give the right quality and right price, we can give an opportunity for all of them to indigenize them. And that also will de-risk us, our operation again. In a quiet way, we already started doing a lot of R&D work for our own group companies, in our case, in US and Germany. The biggest problem for them is they don't get people to come and sit and do the research work in their offices. So there is a big opportunity that's already come. It is not going to come, it's already there. So how we enhance our capability in R&D and create a global center of excellence and take advantage of our young manpower is something we should think about.
Thank you. We can also touch a little bit on the sustainability side. So, Mr. Palagari, my question to you is that there is increased emphasis on the sustainability and eco-friendly practices. How is the construction equipment industry adopting these, practices and responding to the opportunities?
I think I would say the industry is responding very well in terms of using green technologies and whether it's saving of aggregates by using technologies like milling, recycling. And here I would say it's not just highways, even rural roads, where recycling is being used extensively in UP. And I think all other states are following now, where big machines like recyclers are running. And also, how do we reduce the consumption of bitumen? Or how can we reduce the temperature at which we lay roads? Low temperature asphalt technology. All these are coming, and some are already in India, milling, recycling, I would say. And there are several other technologies what we can use, both to reduce costs and get quality, do the road faster. But then again, there are two hindrances for this. One is the size of the package, what the contractor gets. It has to be a decent size for him to invest on technology. For example, technologies like inline pave or double layer concrete, where you get excellent quality, you do the road very fast, but it has to be a contract of a decent size. Second, of course, is very stringent enforcement of quality. I think once these two are done, I think these technologies will catch up much faster in India.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sundaresan, I think you wanted to share some perspective on the government policies. If you could quickly, please elaborate. Yes.
So the national investment pipeline, monetization plan, and the Gati Shakti program, all these things are going to create a huge opportunity for the construction equipment industry. And our vision 2030 of reaching 200,000, 230,000 units will be easily met with if all these projects are implemented in a proper way. Which means that the current capacity that is available, definitely we cannot meet those numbers, those are equipment requirement with the current capacity, installed capacity of the manufacturing unit. So, if you want to do that, then probably there could be, this is my personal idea, it is not ICEMA idea, let me be clear about that, is that probably you can make it mandatory that for all these projects, they should use only Indian equipment with at least about 60+% or 70+% of local content in the product. This could be one way by which we can get in the investment. The second thing, of course, on the FTA, Shakti already talked about that. He said that there should be a level playing field. I'm not talking about the level playing. I'm saying I'm going one step ahead. In countries which are going to have a lot of infrastructure investment like Saudi Arabia or UAE, where government is making the FTA, they should even insist on taking equipment from India to this construction equipment from India. That will help us in exporting our products from India. This was the second thing. And the last point what I want to say is about skilling. You know, everyone is talking about skilling. We need skilled labor, skilled this thing. Manufacturers are talking about it. Customers are talking about it. Government is talking about it. You also talked about it. But with due respect to you and all the other government officers, I have to tell you that we have been really after the different government agencies to make it mandatory for use of only certified operators for operating the equipment. Because so far, what is happening is they are just employing a person with a heavy-duty driving license and asking him to operate a backhoe loader or an excavator or a crane or whatever it is. Operating the construction equipment is completely different from operating a truck or a car or something. So unless and until the government makes it mandatory, this particular profession will not become aspirational. Like a driver's proficiency, like a welder, like a fitter or whatever, those trades are all aspirational. If the operation of construction equipment also has to become operational, it's only the government can support it. Government has to make it mandatory for use of certified operators for operating construction equipment. So that is where I think we have been representing to the government, and we would greatly appreciate to convey it to this forum, and to see that if you can help us in any way getting this passed, we'll be very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sundaresan, and I think that will be all. I just like to conclude, the investment and localization are indeed the key imperatives for the growth of construction equipment industries together with adequate funding, new processes, innovative approaches, more engagement with the government, new schemes and collaborative efforts. I think we can drive economic growth and advance sustainability. Thank you, panelists, for your valuable contributions to this discussion, and to our audience, we hope this conversation was useful and inspire you to invest more and do localization. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So first and foremost, Mr. Sanjit Singh, thank you for sharing a very detailed overview of why the government is focusing on infrastructure. And clearly, you're absolutely clear it is for inclusive and green growth. And I think one is that intent. The other is also that we, in the last 8-9 years, we've seen that intent has also translated into action. And you mentioned about the statistics about airports. I can say that, today I live in Bangalore, and today there is not a place in the country where we cannot land directly in a single flight. We have flights that, there was a time 20 years ago, flying to Udaipur meant that you had to stay overnight in Mumbai and then catch the morning flight from Mumbai to Udaipur, or for that matter, Bhuj or some such places. And today, we have flights from Bangalore to a place called Andal. Andal is actually near Durgapur. And if you want to go to Dhanbad, you can actually fly literally 1.5 hours from Dhanbad to Andal, and then the short drive. So the country is really connected. You can actually fly, and it has become, obviously, infrastructure can either be a bottleneck for growth or it can be an enabler for growth. And I think India is making a great progress in that direction. This will surely unlock the power of our people, and by connectivity, we definitely will unleash the power of our people. You also talked about the symbiotic relationship between investment and competitiveness, and I hope that all the discussions that we had today and the investment we want to encourage by working on the PLI proposal will definitely take this forward, but we also take your advice on more aggressive reaching out to the government and especially to Niti Aayog to bring out all the different challenges. And I think as an industry, we have tried to increase that activity in the last 2 years, but it's very clear from your statement that we need to probably increase it tenfold, not just double it or triple it. So we will definitely do that, and of course we not just have to work with the central government, but also probably at the state government levels to initiate and bring the attention of the government to our industry. And you also mentioned about no better time than now to expand the industry, absolutely, and I think ICEMA has also been in that journey, and we take your inspiration from this. I would also like to, at the end, also mention about skilling. You did mention about skilling in your words, and Anandji has already emphasized that, one of the key things for our industry is to make the profession of equipment operation more respectful. And that is possible if we can have a mandate for all operators who operate our equipment to be certified by the industry's own body, which is the sector skill council. And in some way, if you can help us to formulate an approach, this will be really, really helpful. I would like to thank you for your time and your enthusiastic approach and your support to the industry. And our meetings so far have always been encouraged by your very positive approach to making our industry move forward, and look forward to taking our engagement to the right conclusion. I would also like to thank all the panelists and Sandeep for moderating it, and my colleagues from the industry, Ramesh, Shakti, and Anand, for joining us here. And to all of you who have been listening very patiently and an engaged conversation, thank you very much for joining us.
Let's just have all our panelists together. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a big, big round of applause. A great session right there on the investment and localization key imperatives for growth. Thank you once again to all our key speakers, and of course our guest of honor, Shri Sanjeet Singh. Thank you once again for joining us.
Good evening, namaskar. Thank you very much, Joshi-ji. On behalf of ICEMA and Indian construction equipment industry, it is my honor to welcome Honorable Minister for Coal, Mines and Parliament Affairs, Shri Prahlad Joshi-ji, as our esteemed chief guest at the ICEMA annual session 2023. I have my personal experience with Joshi-ji because our plant is at Dharwad and I meet him many times over there. He has been always very supportive, cooperative, not only for our plant, but with the industry. He always keeps asking, how is mining doing? Is there any way we can improve that? What are the challenges you people are facing? How we can support the industry? So really honored to have him here. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for yours. Mining is one of the major end-user sector for the Indian construction equipment industry and holds immense importance for us. We are keen to hear the government future plans for the mining sector in India, including coal, and also would like to have his suggestions on how the construction equipment industry can deepen its engagement with the sector and partner with the government to serve the equipment needs of the sector better. Under your leadership, sir, the mining and coal sector has witnessed phenomenal progress over the past years. I would like to mention about the coal production trend in the country, which has been a quantum jump over the last couple of years. The coal production in the country witnessed an increase from 778 million tons in 2021-22 to close to 900 million tons, and they have much bigger target. In fact, our import from the other parts of the world has already come down. Similarly, iron ore production went up from 205 million tons in 2020-21 to 258 million tons in 2020-23. And they have taken many positive steps in strengthening mineral security in country in view of high input cost. This, together with enhanced focus of the government on infrastructure, has helped the overall construction equipment sales to surpass the 1 lakh mark in the last financial year, for the first time in the history by recording a growth of 26% in the last financial year. Thank you very much, sir. And mining has played very, very important role in that. On behalf of Indian construction equipment industry, we want to assure you of our strong support and pledge to contribute our level best towards fulfilling your aspirations and advancing the mining sector through cutting-edge technologies, eco-friendly solutions, and continuous improvement in our offerings. This would also boost the demand for our equipments and help construction equipment industry to increase production and availability of these machines in the domestic market. The construction equipment industry is also striving towards further strengthening the government agenda of promoting Atmanirbhar Bharat through enhancing the industry localization level, and looks forward to increasing the supply of locally produced machine to the end user industry, including the mining sector. As an encouragement to the industry, the government may consider, which we would like to request him, which we have already talked to him, in incentivizing the use of such machine through introducing criteria mandating the usage of machine with at least 10 to 20% localization level for the mining sector. The government support and encouragement is critical to enable the construction equipment industry to emerge as a strong contender in the global construction equipment market. We are looking at to be number second, sir, in the next 5 to 7 years, so we would need a lot of support. We are working on Atmanirbharta agenda very, very strongly. All the manufacturers, first they localize the machine before introducing in the country, especially the machines which are with advanced technology. With these words, I would like to once again thank Prahlad Joshi ji for his kind presence here with us. I'm sure my industry colleagues are eagerly waiting to listen to your address and future plans that the government has for the mining and coal sector, and your advice for the construction equipment industry for facilitating this growth. I now welcome my colleague Arvind Garg to give a brief overview of Indian construction equipment industry. Thank you very much. We would like to be brief in our presentation so that we can give you more time to share your views with us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's really an honor for us to have Honorable Minister Shri Prahlad Joshi ji with us today. We as ICEMA, sir, have been engaged with the construction equipment, but as Sandeep ji rightly said, mining is playing a very vital role in the development of our industry. And as we look forward to reaching a stage where we become the second largest market for construction and mining equipment in the world, I am sure that mining equipment will continue to play a very dominant role in this. And your presence here, sir, gives us the confidence that we are in the right hands and that the industry is in the right hands and that we will be able to move ahead. A very brief presentation on how the construction equipment industry is shaping up and how the Indian construction equipment industry is helping the government, partnering with the government in building India's tomorrow. So a very, very brief presentation. So the Indian industry, as you know, is contributing significantly to infrastructure development with world-class technology. And I must say here that we are very thankful to the government that almost 3.3% of the GDP during the current year will be spent on building and strengthening infrastructure. And from our side, we are doing our best to ensure that we have contemporary equipment which helps in cost-effective execution of projects. To give you a very brief thing, today we have almost 115 members who are part of the industry, and we represent the earth-moving equipment machinery manufacturers, road construction equipment manufacturers, mineral handling equipment, and concreting equipment, mineral processing equipment, and of course, the mining machinery manufacturers. So we have in our range hydraulic excavators, wheel loaders, backhoe loaders, dump trucks, screeners, crushers, to say a few, compactors, pavers, milling machines, and all this is really helping transform the industry. Similarly, we have pick and carry cranes, mobile all-terrain cranes, crawler cranes, truck cranes, telehandlers, etc. Batching plants, concrete mixers, and concrete pumps are another set of equipment that we represent. And if you look at the construction equipment end-use sectors, almost 35 to 45% goes towards building roads, but very significantly, 20 to 30% of our equipment goes for mining and quarrying. 10 to 20% goes into urban infrastructure. 5 to 15% into industrial infrastructure, and the balance is others. So mining is a very, very important segment for the construction and mining equipment manufacturers, all of us who are sitting in this room. If you look at the industry performance, I'm very happy to share with you that in the last 9 or 10 years, despite the fact that there was COVID, which led to a shrinkage of the industry, still, over the last 10 years, our industry has grown from what it was, from 50,000 machine sales in FY14 to 107,000 machines, 107,000 machines in FY23. And you will see that except the years where we were afflicted by COVID, generally the industry has been growing at a very good pace. We are today, as Mr. Sandeep Singh said, the third largest supplier of equipment, the largest demand in the world. We are the globally number 3 today, the market. And we expect that in the next 5 to 7 years, we will emerge as the number 2 in the world after China. If you look at the present status of the industry, we are an $8.5 billion industry turnover. And very importantly, we impact the lives of more than 3 million people directly. Because if we sell 1 lakh machines a year, and if the life of the machine is about 9 to 10 years, you can imagine that the operators and mechanics who are directly employed by the industry are about 30 lakh. And if you look at the family members and the secondary and tertiary impact that we have, I think as an industry, we impact a lot of people and we bring a lot of benefit to a lot of people. Similarly, for the MSME sector, and if you look at the number of OEMs, we are about 50 plus. If you look at the future growth drivers, we look at roads and highways, again, as an important driver because a lot of spend is taking place in that area. But equally importantly, we see mining and quarrying as a very big driver of our industry, besides the others that I have listed out there. We have actually developed an Industry Vision Plan 2030 in keeping with the Government of India's desire and ambition to grow rapidly. And our ambition is, as an industry, that we must grow at least 3 times its current size and become the second largest CE market globally. And in that, you will also see that we are looking at having a direct impact on at least 60 lakh people and at least reach a size of $3 billion in exports, both of which are, I would say, outcomes which are in line with the Government of India's direction. We are today the most, I would say, credible voice of the industry because we have more than 115 members. And we have a lot of panels which are in manufacturing, which is on technology and sustainability, financial ecosystem, strategic partnerships, branding of our industry, industry data analysis, and sustained demand creation, etc., all of which come together in a holistic manner to ensure that as an industry, we are able to reach out to the government, understand from you the plans that you have, and work in the direction that you set for the industry and for the nation. As I mentioned to you, we are today almost 115 members. The who's who of industry is represented by our association, sir. And we are extremely, extremely thankful to you that you are here today to motivate us, to encourage us, and your presence. We're extremely grateful to you, sir, for being here. Thank you very, very much.
Announcing the arrival of our chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, a big, big, warm round of applause to Shri Prahlad Joshi ji, Minister of Coal, Mines and Parliamentary Affairs. Let's give him a thunderous round of applause. And of course, accompanied by our dignitaries on stage. Thank you so much.
Shri Krishnan, President ICEMA. Shri Sandeep Singh, past President. Shri Arvind Garg, past President, and Ms. Seema Gupta,
and all other manufacturers and representatives of the manufacturers who are present here. Ladies and gentlemen, मैं पहुंचते पहुंचते थोड़ा देरी हुआ है, मैं आपसे क्षमा प्रार्थना करता हूं, क्योंकि आप सब लोग जानते हैं पार्लियामेंट चल रहा है, कोल और माइन के साथ मैं पार्लियामेंट अफेयर्स मंत्री भी हूं, तो मैंने ये सोचा कि आपको कमिटमेंट किया है, इसीलिए अभी भी हमारा, जब मैं निकल रहा था राज्यसभा, अभी भी चल रहा है हमारा, तो बहुत ही टेंशन में भी चला रहे हैं, क्योंकि तो हम चर्चा करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन हमारे मित्र चर्चा करना चाहते हैं, ऐसे बाहर बोलते हैं, लेकिन चर्चा करना हम नहीं दे रहे हैं। तो इस बीच में आप सब जानते हो, दिस इज द ऑलमोस्ट लास्ट बट वन सेशन, नेक्स्ट सेशन विल बी द ऑलमोस्ट लास्ट सेशन। इससे पहले जो कुछ भी हमको रिफॉर्म्स लाना है, that we need to complete, and I assure you, whether it is this session or next session, जो कुछ भी भारत के इंडस्ट्री के और भारत के जनता के हित में है, ऐसे पूरे काम हम करके ही चुनाव में जाएंगे, ये तो मैं आपको पहले आश्वस्त करता हूँ। ICEMA has a legacy of over 70 years, and association represents over 100 leading companies handling the equipment that are used in the Indian infrastructure sector. As you know that we are in Amrit Kal, our PM Shri Narendra Modi ji has given us a vision of transform India into a developed country by 2047, when nation celebrates the 100 years of independence. मैं आपने तो एक प्रेजेंटेशन दिखाया है, मैं तो आपको एक आह्वान करता हूँ, 2047 में देश कैसे रहना चाहिए, एक प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हम सब लोगों को, हम सब मंत्रियों को एक विजन दिया है, और उसका एक प्रेजेंटेशन भी है। आप लॉजिस्टिक्स क्या होना चाहिए, लॉजिस्टिक्स का कॉस्ट क्या होना चाहिए, और हमारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्या होना चाहिए, रोड कैसा होना चाहिए, पोर्ट कैसे होना चाहिए, एयरपोर्ट कैसे होना चाहिए, ये सब के बारे में एक बहुत ही बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग और आप लोगों का जो उपयोगी होता है, ऐसे एक प्रेजेंटेशन है, एक बार देख लो, आपका भी विजन थोड़ा और भी थोड़ा बड़ा हो जाएगा। बिकॉज नाउ आवर व्हाट वी आर थिंकिंग इज, तो लास्ट टाइम हम 1 लाख से ज़्यादा मशीन सेल किया, जो अभी जो मोदी जी का सोच है, अगर आपके सोच से चलते हैं तो आप बहुत जल्दी ही इससे दुगना त्रिगुना और ज़्यादा ही 10 गुना आप हो सकते हैं, ऐसा हमारा सोच है। एंड दिस इज द ओनली कंट्री इन द वर्ल्ड, आई एम टेलिंग यू, दिस इज द ओनली कंट्री इन द वर्ल्ड एट दिस टाइम पोस्ट कोविड एंड ड्यूरिंग द वॉर, if at all one country is investing more than 10 lakh crores in the infrastructure, that is only and only is India. ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ भारत है। आप सब, you all know roads in a big way, we are constructing the roads, and airport हमारा था 70 airports था 60 years में, 9 बरस में हमारा एयरपोर्ट 140-145 तक पहुंच गए हैं। रोड का रोजाना हम 37 किलोमीटर रोड का कंस्ट्रक्शन कर रहे हैं, और एज फार एज माइनिंग एंड कोल इज कंसर्न, आप तो अच्छे तरह से जानते हैं क्योंकि कितना हम कर रहे हैं। अब तो इसके लिए आपका सहयोग और आपका योगदान, बिना आपके योगदान ये हो नहीं सकते हैं। तो जब हम MMDR बिल लाए थे लास्ट 2021 में, तो जो लोग विरोध करने के लिए कुछ लोग हैं इस देश में, तो ये रेड फ्लैग लेके खड़े हो जाते हैं। व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड द कमर्शियल कोल माइनिंग, देन ऑल्सो देयर वाज अपोजिशन। हम MDO कंसेप्ट लाया था, तब भी अपोजिशन हुआ था। लेकिन आप देख सकते हो in 2014-15, the coal production in this country was $566 million, sorry, 756 million ton. And this year, for the first time in the history, we are going to surpass the 1 billion tons of the coal. ये सस्टेनेबल मैनर में हमारा जो प्रधानमंत्री जी का कमिटमेंट दुनिया के लिए है वो भी देखते हुए हमको कोल गैसिफिकेशन में भी हम सोच रहे हैं, नेट जीरो पे भी हम सोच रहे हैं, बट लेकिन हमारा एनर्जी सस्टेनेबिलिटी ये बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है. Because as you know all well, if at all some country is becoming the destination of the world for the manufacturing, that is India today. तो भारत में लोग इन्वेस्टमेंट करना चाहते हैं, दुनिया के लोग इन्वेस्टमेंट करना चाहते हैं. So when the people are ready to invest in country, so we need to facilitate. And हमारा गवर्नमेंट माननीय मोदी जी का नेतृत्व में सोच ये है कि तो जो लोग इंडस्ट्री और बिजनेस चला रहे हैं वो भी बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में देश का जो हमारा आगे लेके जाना है, देश के हित में जो काम करने वाला है उसमें इंडस्ट्री और बिजनेस में हमारा स्पष्ट सोच है. पहले क्या होता था, तो इंडस्ट्री के बारे में अच्छे दो शब्द बोलते हैं तो बिजनेस करने वाले के बारे में ऐसे होता है तो हमको कैपिटलिस्ट बोलते थे और पूरा हम गरीबी और गरीब का विरोध ऐसे एक ब्रांडिंग कर देते. लेकिन इस गवर्नमेंट का सोच अलग है. वी वांट दैट इंडस्ट्री शुड ग्रो, दे शुड डू वेल, बिजनेस शुड ग्रो, दे शुड डू वेल. By that reasonably we should get the revenue and we should serve it to for the purpose of the poor people. This is the clear cut thinking of our government. तो इसीलिए जो हमने बदलाव ला रहे हैं उस बदलाव में जहाँ तक कोयला और अदर माइनिंग का क्षेत्र है, कोयला तो हम अभी टोटल 85 कोल ब्लॉक्स हमने आवंटन किया है थ्रू कमर्शियल कोल माइनिंग. एंड दिस ईयर फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम कमर्शियल कोल माइनिंग के थ्रू 8 मिलियन टन 21 में शुरू हुआ है. दिस इज नॉट, आई एम नॉट टेलिंग 10 बरस पहले होता, ऐसा नहीं है. 21 में शुरू होता, ऑलमोस्ट 8.5 मिलियन टन इस बार लास्ट ईयर हमारा प्रोडक्शन हुआ है थ्रू कमर्शियल कोल माइनिंग. दिस ईयर आई थिंक इट विल बी मोर देन 10-12 मिलियन. आई थिंक इट मे गो अप टू 15 मिलियन टन. So these are all the things which have been, I mean, we are trying to bring. And कल भी हमने एक बिल पेश किया परसों about MMDR Act, where it provides, but we have also जो हमारे देश में क्रिटिकल मिनरल का तो सब लिथियम वगैरह जो है क्रिटिकल मिनरल के लिस्ट में डाल के रखे थे, तो सॉरी एटॉमिक मिनरल्स के लिस्ट में डाल के रखे थे. By that we are not able to mine it, we are not able to explore it. But हमने वो भी चेंज करके अभी 6 जो एटॉमिक मिनरल्स थे that we have brought in the we have removed from the minerals, I mean atomic minerals list, and other critical minerals also, some of the critical minerals. Now the exploration license also we are giving, and we are creating the concept of junior miners, which राज्य सभा में पेंडिंग है. इस सप्ताह में हम पारित करेंगे. 1 महीने में इसका रूल भी बना के हम इसमें भी जो एक्सप्लोरेशन के लिए और क्रिटिकल मिनरल के एक्सप्लोरेशन के लिए, डीप सीटेड मिनरल एक्सप्लोरेशन के लिए हमने बड़ी मात्रा में एक बदलाव ला रहे हैं. और इसमें भी आपका इक्विपमेंट बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में उपयोग होने वाला है. और इसमें भी मैं एक चीज़ आपको कहना चाहता हूँ, एज फार एज पॉसिबल जो कुछ भी हमारे भूगर्भ में है, हम बोलते हैं रत्नगर्भा वसुंधरा, जो हमारे देश में है. हमारे पास कोयला है. मुझे एक बार प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, जब मैं कोयला मंत्री बना, प्रधानमंत्री ने मुझे पूछा आप कोयले के बारे में कुछ जानते हो? मैंने बोला मैं कुछ नहीं जानता हूँ सर, अगर कोयला जलाता है तो बिजली आता है, इतना ही मैं जानता हूँ और कुछ नहीं जानता हूँ. ऐसे मैंने कहा. एंड दैट वाज अ फैक्ट ऑल्सो. आई वॉज नॉट नोइंग एनीथिंग अबाउट इट. एंड प्राइम मिनिस्टर इट्स ए गुड थिंग. मैंने बोला आपका मार्गदर्शन क्या है? प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक ही चीज़ बोला था मुझे, एंड आई टुक इट एज मंत्रा for the development of the coal sector. He said, देखो अगर हम क्रूड ऑयल इंपोर्ट करते हैं तो मैं समझ सकता हूँ, मान भी सकता हूँ, टॉलरेट भी कर सकता हूँ. अगर कोल इंपोर्ट करते हैं तो ये देश के लिए हम बहुत बड़ा पाप कर रहे हैं, वी आर कमिटिंग ए सिन टुवर्ड्स द कंट्री। तो वही सोच हमारा है, इसीलिए हमारा बहुत ही स्पष्ट सोच है, बाय 25-26 all substitutable coal import should be totally stopped, and we are going to stop it, that in that direction we are heading। तो इसके लिए आपका जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन इक्विपमेंट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग जो है, इसका अहम भूमिका है। एंड मैं आपको यही बताना चाहता हूँ कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एक तरफ चल रहा है। आपने ITPA शायद आपने सब देखा होगा, अगर नहीं देखा है तो ये तो वही कर सकते थे आप, इससे बेहतर है, बहुत बढ़िया है। इतना बढ़िया व्यवस्था और इतना बढ़िया एक जगह पे सब कुछ अगर कर सकते हैं तो 20,000 लोग 20,000 पीपल कैन असेंबल एंड डू देयर एक्टिविटी सीमलेसली। एकदम छोटा है, 15, 20, 25 लोगों का भी करने का हॉल है, 7,000 लोग बैठने का भी एक हॉल है, और इसके साथ ही साथ सब कनेक्टेड है, सभी व्यवस्था मजबूत है। ये तो दुनिया, इट इज़ रियली समटाइम वी पीपल से वर्ल्ड क्लास, बट वर्ल्ड क्लास क्या है हमको भी पता नहीं रहता, जो पॉलिसी मेकर से कभी कभी आपको भी पता नहीं रहता, हम वर्ल्ड क्लास बोल देते हैं, लेकिन ये रियली वर्ल्ड क्लास हुआ है। एक बार देख लीजिए, सब मीटिंग इसके बाद उधर करिए, इससे बहुत ही बेहतर है जी। और कंपेरेटिवली आई थिंक इट इज़ इकोनॉमिकल ऑल्सो। आई डोंट नो द प्राइस ऑफ, आई मीन वॉट एवर दे आर चार्जिंग नाउ। सो मैं इतना ही कहना चाहता हूँ, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में देश में बहुत बढ़िया काम हो रहा है, और हम जो इसमें रेल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में बहुत बढ़िया काम हो रहा है, पोर्ट और एयरपोर्ट में काम हमारा बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में हो रहा है। और मैं एक चीज़ आपके ध्यान में लाता हूँ, तो आपको भी कभी कभी आपको लगेगा ये मैं ठीक बोल रहा हूँ या झूठ बोल रहा है, ऐसे सोच में आएगा, लेकिन जो कुछ भी इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन ऑफ दी रेलवे लाइन हुआ था, उसमें जब हम लिए थे, मीन मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हम सत्ता को संभालना शुरू किया, एट दैट टाइम इट वाज अराउंड 20,000 किलोमीटर इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन वाज डन। तो नाउ इट इज 62,000 kilometers of electrification in the last 9 years. This is the change we are trying to bring, and for that, once if you total electrification जब होना शुरू होता है और इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल आएगा, तब इसके लिए इलेक्ट्रिसिटी चाहिए, पावर चाहिए। तो पावर मीन्स आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ द इलेक्ट्रिक पावर। तो पॉलिटिकल पावर हमारे पास ही रहेगा, नेक्स्ट टाइम भी हमारे पास ही रहेगा, उसमें चिंता करने का कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है। मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में पॉलिटिकल पावर हमारे, लेकिन आपके लिए जो पावर चाहिए वो पावर हम, अगर देखो एक बार इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन, रेल इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन होता है तो कितनी बड़ी मात्रा में हमको पावर चाहिए, इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल कितनी बड़ी मात्रा में हमको पावर चाहिए। फॉर दैट वी नीड कोल। उसमें कोल गैसिफिकेशन, सस्टेनेबिलिटी कैसा करना, वो भी हम बहुत, वी आर वेरी वेरी सेंसिटिव टुवर्ड्स आवर एनवायरनमेंट ऑल्सो, उसमें कोई शक नहीं है। जो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कमिटमेंट दिया है, वी आर कमिटेड टू दैट, बट एट द सेम टाइम वी शुड अंडरस्टैंड by 2030 the electricity demand of India is going to be doubled. So even if you consider with the wind and solar, with all these also, if we can get 50% of the power also, remaining 50% we need to go on thermal. At that time we need coal. And हमारा इस लेवल पर अगर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर अगर आगे जा रहा है तो ऊपर लेके जा रहे हैं हम, फॉर दैट वी नीड स्टील, मेनी थिंग्स आर नीडेड. सो फॉर दैट द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इक्विपमेंट प्लेज अ इम्पॉर्टेंट रोल. एंड हमारा थर्स्ट है कि मेक इन इंडिया, बिकॉज आवर कंट्री, यू नो, इट इज 140 crores कंट्री. फॉर दैट वी नीड टू क्रिएट एम्प्लॉयमेंट. तो इसीलिए हमने बहुत ही बदलाव लाया है. नेशनल मिनरल एक्सप्लोरेशन ट्रस्ट हमने क्रिएट किया है. एंड ऑल्सो यू नो दैट आफ्टर 2021 अमेंडमेंट 161 mineral blocks have been auctioned in the country. आप लोग सब मिलके जो माइन लिया है, आप जो मैन्युफैक्चरर्स है, सब स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर भी थोड़ा इन्फ्लुएंस करना, दबाव डालना, जो कुछ भी करना है करो, क्योंकि हमारे तरफ से हमने जो कुछ भी करना था कर दिया है. कई स्टेट में और भी ज़्यादा करने के लिए, मीन्स अल्टीमेटली स्टेट गवर्नमेंट शुड ऑल्सो इक्वली इन्वॉल्व, कोऑपरेट. जिस स्टेट ने किया है उसमें बहुत बड़ा बदलाव आया है. इफ आई कैन टेल यू, बिफोर वी कुड bring this amendment in 2021 and 2015 जो ऑक्शन रिजीम हमने शुरू किया, उससे पहले ओडिशा का तो टोटल रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम द माइनिंग वाज अराउंड 5,000 crores. From 2000 to 2015 to 2016 to 2019, after bringing the first amendment in 2015, the revenue of the Odisha was around 25,000 crores. And 21 में जो हमने बदलाव लाया कोल सेक्टर में और माइनिंग सेक्टर में, उसके बाद ओडिशा का रेवेन्यू हो गया है 50,000 crores. It is 50,000 crores. And these are the changes which are visible. मध्य प्रदेश में बड़ी मात्रा में रेवेन्यू इंक्रीज हो रहा है. Some states are, in spite of the political differences, some state, ओडिशा इज बीजेपी का गवर्नमेंट है, बट दे हैव डन वेल. मध्य प्रदेश अच्छा किया है, कर्नाटक अच्छा किया है. तो हमने एक्सप्लोरेशन नॉर्म्स वेर ऑल्सो रिलैक्स्ड. पहले क्या होता था, G2 लेवल पर लाने तक थक जाते थे, इसलिए हमने जो सरफेशियल मिनरल्स है उसके लिए हम G3 लेवल पर हम अभी माइनिंग लाइसेंस दे रहे हैं. G4 लेवल पर कंपोजिट लाइसेंस का व्यवस्था हमने की है. एंड और एक इम्पॉर्टेंट जो पॉइंट मुझे बोलना है, अंडर द गाइडेंस ऑफ ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर, एक तो दो चीज़ सब मंत्रियों को हमेशा बोलते हैं. एक तो कंप्लायंस कम करो, बिलीव आवर इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट एंड बिलीव आवर पीपल एट लार्ज. तो इसलिए कंप्लायंस कम करो, तो कंप्लायंस बहुत कम किया है. एंड टोटल मिनरल सेक्टर में हमने वी हैव डीक्रिमिनलाइज 49 रूल्स in the mineral concession rules and 24 rules in the mineral conservation and development rules. So हमने इसका डीक्रिमिनलाइज करके, और आपका हमारा जो इलीगल माइनिंग का भी एक बहुत ही बड़ा इशू था, इसलिए हमारे देश में माइनिंग नहीं होता था, तो वो भी हमने डीक्रिमिनलाइज कर दिया है. और जो एक्चुअली इलीगल माइनिंग करते हैं उसके तो कार्रवाई होगा, उसमें प्रावधान है. लेकिन जो कुछ भी करते हैं, अगर आप जब माइनिंग करते करते आप मोटर व्हीकल एक्ट का भी अगर आप उल्लंघन करते हैं तो वो भी इलीगल माइनिंग हो जाता था. ये सब हमने एकदम ठीक ठाक कर दिया है, सो दैट ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस में वी आर डूइंग. एंड आई डू नॉट वांट टू टेक मच टाइम ऑफ yours, because I think from morning till now you might have listened to so many speeches, or you may be also feeling that ये तो भाषण वही हो रहा है, इसलिए मैं ज़्यादा भाषण नहीं देता हूँ. लेकिन मैं एक चीज़ आपको कहना चाहता हूँ, हमारा जो कोल PSUs है, कोल PSUs दे हैव डिसाइडेड ऑलरेडी, हम फर्स्ट माइल कनेक्टिविटी में बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में इन्वेस्टमेंट कर रहे हैं. आई थिंक मोर देन 66,000 crores वी आर इन्वेस्टिंग. एंड इसी के साथ ही साथ द कोल PSU हैव मेड एन इन्वेस्टमेंट प्लान ऑफ 2.5 lakh crore by 2030 इन द न्यू बिजनेस लाइक रिन्यूएबल हो. और भी वी आर नाउ इन दी सम स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स, बिकॉज हमारे देश में एक तो जो प्रीवियस गवर्नमेंट ने जो गलती किया था, वो तो एक तो कोयला हमारा इस पश्चिम क्षेत्र में है, और हमारा थर्मल पावर जनरेटिंग प्लांट्स है दक्षिण में, कई जगह में है. मीन्स ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा हमारा झारखंड में है, छत्तीसगढ़ में है. दिस पार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री टू अदर पार्ट ऑफ द कंट्री, ट्रांसपोर्टेशन इटसेल्फ वाज अ बिग प्रॉब्लम. नाउ आवर कोल कंपनीज ऑल्सो MOU किया गया है कई राज्यों के साथ कि पिटहेड पावर प्लांट लगाने का हमने डिसीजन ले लिया है. सो दैट पिटहेड पावर प्लांट से जो फॉर एग्जांपल आसाम है, आसाम से कोयला उधर तो वो मार्गरेट में थोड़ी छोटी मात्रा में कोयला है, लेकिन हम पिटहेड पावर प्लांट असम सरकार के साथ हमारा एक MOU हो रहा है, मध्य प्रदेश के सरकार के साथ एक MOU है CIL का, तो उसमें भी हमको कोयला चाहिए। वो भी कोयला उत्पादन ज़्यादा करने के लिए हमने डिसाइड किया है और वो भी इन्वेस्टमेंट हो रहा है। तो ओवरऑल 2.5 लाख करोड़ बाय 2030 वी आर इन्वेस्टिंग एंड minerals such as iron, limestone, gypsum, bauxite, cauge, chromite, etc. are crucial for the construction company, and for that also we have changed the policy. I would not like to elaborate it now. मैं इतना ही कहना चाहता हूँ, by 2047, अभी तो हम 2014 में we fragile 5 के लिस्ट में थे as far as economy is concerned. Now we are the 5th largest economy. The Prime Minister has committed in public and recently भी उन्होंने कहा है, आपने सुना होगा, तो India will be the our third term, India will be the third largest economy of the world. Will be the third largest economy. And by 2047, India एक डेवलप्ड कंट्री होगा, विकसित राज्य होगा मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में। तो इसलिए बहुत ही बड़ी, इन ए बिग वे वी हैव गॉट अपॉर्चुनिटी। वो अपॉर्चुनिटी के लिए भारत सरकार जो कुछ भी ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस में हमको करना है हम करेंगे। तो आप भी इक्विप्ड हो जाओ, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इक्विपमेंट जो मैन्युफैक्चर, आप यू ट्राई टू बी इक्विप्ड, क्योंकि देश अभी आगे, देयर इज, यू बी रेस्ट एश्योर्ड, इंडिया डेवलप्ड कंट्री होने वाले हैं। और इसके साथ ही साथ हम थर्ड बिगेस्ट इकोनॉमी होने जा रहा है। इसके लिए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, इसके लिए जो कुछ भी व्यवस्था खड़ी करना है, उसके लिए आपको बहुत बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलने वाला भी है। और यू विल बी ऑल्सो गेट द अपॉर्चुनिटी एट द सेम टाइम। So you need to equip yourself. With these words, I wish you all the best. Thank you. धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
Sir, over to you.
सर, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आपने बदलाव की बात की, मैंने सोचा आप बदलाव की बात करेंगे। आपने तो बोला कि पूरा रेवोल्यूशन हो जाएगा। जिस तरह से आपने बताया कि देश में एक क्रांति आ रही है और उस क्रांति को आप लोग आगे लेके चल रहे हैं, उसके लिए हम लोग पूरे इंडस्ट्री के मेंबर्स आपके बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं। वेरी वेरी ग्रेटफुल टू यू एंड टू द लीडरशिप of our honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, who has set a vision, जैसे आपने बोला 2047 का जो विजन है आप लोगों का, तो उसके लिए हम लोग आपके भागीदार हैं सर। एंड आपको हम लोग इस बात के भी बहुत आभारी हैं कि आप लोग हमको अपना इंडस्ट्री को अपना एक तरह से एक फैसिलिटेट करने की बात की आपने बोला कि हम आपको वी सी यू एज पार्टनर्स इन प्रोग्रेस। आई थिंक दैट इज़ वेरी 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 हार्टनिंग फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस। थैंक यू वेरी मच सर। एज इंडिया चेंजेस, जैसे आपका जो विजन है कि पूरा देश को बदलना है, तो हम लोगों का ये भी है कि जो माइनिंग प्रैक्टिसेस हैं इंडिया में, उसमें आप लोग क्या बदलाव लाना चाहते हैं सर? आज बहुत छोटी सी बात बोलना चाहता हूँ कि आज भी हमारे जो PSUs हैं, जो 1 बिलियन टन्स ऑफ कोल प्रोड्यूस करने वाले हैं, वो आज भी मतलब जो प्रोक्योरमेंट प्रोसेसेस हैं, उनके जो टेक्नोलॉजीज़ हैं, उसमें मुझको लगता है कि ग्लोबल प्रैक्टिसेस आर येट टू रीच। तो आपकी उस बारे में क्या सोच है और क्या बोलना चाहेंगे सर आप?
कि एक तो ट्रांसपेरेंट सिस्टम तो पहले हमने ला चुका है, वी हैव ऑलरेडी ब्रॉट द ट्रांसपेरेंट सिस्टम, बट एट द सेम टाइम तो ओल्ड हैबिट्स डाई हार्ड। तो कितना भी बोलते हैं तो थोड़ा कुछ प्रॉब्लम रहेगा। मैं डिटेल में जाना रहता। एक तो हमने जो कुछ भी लाइसेंसेस, परमिशंस, ये सब था, ये तो हम ट्रांसफ़र करने का एक व्यवस्था कर दिया है। जो नया एक्ट हमने लाया है उसमें जो ये पहले क्या था, अगर आपका एक माइन है, उसका लीज एक्सपायरी होने के बाद उधर फर्दर इफ़ यू वांट टू ऑक्शन इट एंड देन स्टार्ट द प्रोडक्शन, पूरा 21 लाइसेंसेस, परमिशन, वॉट एवर इट इज़ वॉज देयर, all those things were to be, you should go to the state and central government and avail all those clearances, licenses, permission, everything. Now we are just transferring all those things to the next person, whoever wins the auction. So this is a big change. Many such changes we have brought in. मैं आपको एक आश्वस्त करता हूँ, एक तो हम जम पे मैक्सिमम जो हम अभी प्रोक्योरमेंट कर रहे हैं PSU में भी जम के थ्रू कर रहे हैं, वे इसके बावजूद भी आपका कुछ सुझाव है तो हमने जो बदलाव लाया है ये तो पब्लिक डोमेन में है। तो मैं इतना ही कहना चाहता हूँ, इफ़ यू वांट दैट these things is not in favor of the ease of doing business, if it is brought to notice, then it will be immediately attended.
So, मंत्री जी, हम आपका बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं। मैं कुछ इंसिडेंट रिलेट करना चाहूँगा कि जैसे आपने बोला कि जब आपने माइनिंग मिनिस्टर्स टेक ओवर किया तो मेरे को याद है मैं आपको उस समय मिला था आके, और आपने मेरे को बहुत क्लियरली बोला था, मेरे भी इतनी नॉलेज नहीं थी उस समय, तो आपने बोला था कि मेरे को माइनिंग के बारे में इतना नहीं पता, मैं सीखना चाहता हूँ और आप हमें इनपुट्स दीजिए और मैं कोशिश करूँगा कि इसकी एफिशिएंसी बढ़ाई जाए, प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ाई जाए और ईज़ ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस किया जाए। तो हमने देखा कि पिछले कुछ सालों में जैसे हम टेंडर प्रोसेस है या हम प्रोडक्शन देखें कोल की, या जैसे हम विज़िट करते हैं, जिस तरह से हमें सुना जाता है, बहुत ही ज़्यादा इम्प्रूवमेंट हुई है। तो उसका मैं आपको बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया करना चाहूँगा। दूसरा, अभी आपने बोला कि नेट ज़ीरो पे हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर साहब ने वादा किया है कि 2070 तक हम ये अचीव करेंगे, जिसमें कोल इंडस्ट्री का एक बहुत बड़ा योग होगा उसमें, और उसमें एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी, लो एमिशन प्रोड्यूसिंग मशीन्स का लाना हमारे देश में बहुत ज़रूरी है। तो इसलिए उसका लोकलाइज करना, जो आत्मनिर्भरता में हमें जो वादा किया है, तो उसमें हम चाहेंगे कि आप क्या हमें अपनी गाइडेंस दे सकते हैं और क्या स्टेप्स ले रहे हैं। क्योंकि कई बार हम देखते हैं कि क्रॉस बॉर्डर से हमें टेक्नोलॉजी आ जाती है जो इतनी क्वालिटी या लो कॉस्ट में आ जाती है और हमें चैलेंज हो जाता है लोकलाइज करने का। तो क्या विचार हैं आपके, कैसे आप हमें और मोटिवेट करेंगे कि हम इन्वेस्टमेंट और लेके आएँ इधर? तो आपसे सुनना चाहेंगे उसके बाद।
नहीं, एक तो नेट जीरो वगैरह में जो है उसमें तो काम तो चल ही रहा है। जो फॉर एग्जांपल कोल प्रोडक्शन के लिए भी जो हमको बिजली चाहिए, हम वी आर ट्राइंग टू टेक इट फ्रॉम आइदर दिस सोलार विंड पावर, ये तो हम कर रहे हैं, तो अलग बात है दैट। बट एज फार एज coal mining is concerned or other mining is concerned, तो हम we are trying to first, our thrust is that make in India. We are telling even our MDOs that पहले तो भारत में जो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करता है उसके लिए ही हमको प्राथमिकता देना चाहिए। ये तो हमारा स्पष्ट विजन है। और इसके साथ ही साथ हम जो कुछ भी अभी तक कोयला में किया है, कोयला में जब हम कमर्शियल कोल माइनिंग करने जा रहे थे तब भी विरोध हुआ था। एंड एज आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड, नाउ फॉर द सरफेशियल मिनरल वॉट एवर द ऑक्शंस हैव बीन टेकन प्लेस, सो सम पीपल हैव, ऑफ कोर्स इट वाज इन द इनिशियल स्टेज, तो बिड इतना अच्छा गया है, सो पीपल आर रेडी टू इन्वेस्ट। तो इसके लिए हमने भी जो मेक इन इंडिया के इक्विपमेंट्स के लिए हम थ्रस्ट दे रहे हैं, उसमें आप जो बदलाव चाहते हैं दैट लेट मी नो इट, वी विल डेफिनेटली ट्राई टू इंट्रोड्यूस इट।
थैंक यू सर। उस मामले में दो चीज़ बोलूँगा सर एज एन इंडस्ट्री। पहला तो हम लोग एक इंडिया में इंडिजिनाइज करने का, हमारे जो मशीन्स जो बनते हैं इंडिया में उसमें अभी भी इंपोर्ट कंटेंट थोड़ा ज़्यादा है, और उसके लिए हमको लार्ज सप्लायर्स को अट्रैक्ट करना है ताकि इंडिया में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हो, इंडिया में R&D हो। तो उसके लिए हम लोग एक प्रपोजल में काम करने से, विच इज़ प्रोडक्शन लिंक्ड इंसेंटिव के ऊपर है, विच आई एम श्योर इट विल कम टू द कैबिनेट एंड कम टू योर, वी विल नीड रिक्वेस्ट योर सपोर्ट टू दैट प्रपोजल व्हेन इट कम्स फॉर आवर इंडस्ट्री एंड व्हेन इट कम्स टू योर, अभी हम लोग नीति आयोग और मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ हेवी इंडस्ट्रीज के थ्रू आ रहे हैं विद द प्रपोजल, तो आप जरूर सपोर्ट कीजिएगा।
हमारा सपोर्ट कभी भी रहेगा, आप निश्चिंत रहिए, यू बी रेस्ट एश्योर्ड दैट आवर सपोर्ट विल बी ऑलवेज देयर।
और एक और चीज़ उसमें ये था सर कि सभी माइंस में आज की डेट में सभी ऑपरेटर्स जितने भी हैं, ऑल ऑपरेटर्स मस्ट बी स्किल सर्टिफाइड। ये एक अगर मैंडेट हो जाए दैट विल ऑल्सो हेल्प अस, बिकॉज पहली बात तो ये है कि सेफ्टी हैज़ टू इंक्रीज, और माइंस को आप जितना ग्रो कर रहे हैं उतना हम लोगों को मैन पावर को भी अट्रैक्ट करना है और ये सेफ ऑपरेशंस करना है। उसके लिए स्किलिंग के ऊपर थोड़ा और अगर एम्फेसिस किया जाए और अगर उसको मैंडेट किया जाए कि ओनली सर्टिफाइड एंड स्किल्ड ऑपरेटर्स विल बी अलाउड, दैट विल बी गुड। इट कैन बी गिवन सम टाइम, थोड़ा वक्त दे के कि इस समय तक हम लोग सभी स्किल ऑपरेटर्स को स्किल करा सकें।
नहीं, इसमें तो थोड़ा हमारा काम और तेज़ी से होना चाहिए, क्योंकि जहाँ हमारा कोयला खदान है और माइनिंग का एक्टिविटी चलता है, उधर के जो लोग अनस्किल्ड लोग हैं उनको भी हम, क्योंकि जब हम लैंड एक्वायर करते हैं तो उनका लाइवलीहुड चले जाता है। व्हेन ही लूजेस द लाइवलीहुड तो उनको तो जॉब वगैरह प्रोवाइड करना पड़ता है, जो हम PSUs में कर रहे हैं। तो ऐसे जब स्थिति में इमिडिएटली हम स्किल्ड जो है उनको ही हम एम्प्लॉय करेंगे, ऐसे नहीं होता है। धीरे धीरे बट हमको उनको स्किल्ड करने के लिए हमको प्रोग्राम ऑलरेडी भारत सरकार ने ले चुका है। वी हैव टेकन इन ए बिग वे टू upgrade the skills of our unemployed youth, especially in the mining area as far as my department is concerned. But at the same time, initially we need to employ them as a unskilled labor also.
सर, हमने आपके साथ इसके बारे में पहले भी चर्चा कर चुके हैं। जो हमारा टेंडर प्रोसेस है उसमें बहुत रिफॉर्म लेके आए हैं। L1 क्राइटेरिया है, पर उसमें क्वालिटी का और जो मटेरियल मशीन अप टाइम को भी वेटेज दिया जा रहा है। पर अभी भी सर उसमें कुछ हमें कमियां नज़र आती हैं। रिवर्स ऑक्शन होता है तो उस समय हमें लगता है कि जो क्वालिटी हम जिसके लिए हमें पे करना पड़ता है, जो हमें कॉस्ट ज़्यादा पड़ती है, तो उसको उतनी रिकॉग्निशन नहीं मिलती। तो उसके बारे में अगर आप हमारी कुछ मदद कर सकें तो वो बहुत ज़रूरी होगा।
आपने जब एज ए एसोसिएशन ऑल्सो and as an individual also, whenever you have met, I have told my officer that first of all the quality, and along with quality, make in India, that should be our thrust. And Prime Minister has also instructed all the department that make in India should be given thrust, and we are doing it. Of course, sometimes जो MDOs रहता है वो लोग अपने कॉस्ट के कारण इसमें they try to get the economically or cheap imported material. उसमें भी मैंने अभी भी एक हमारा मीटिंग हुआ था। I have insisted that अभी आप मेक इन इंडिया के ही इंसिस्ट करना, एंड उसमें भी क्वालिटी का भी एक क्लॉज डालना है। मैंने तो ऑलरेडी PSUs को इंस्ट्रक्शन दे के रखा हूँ, लेकिन उसमें थोड़ा और ज़्यादा बल देने का ज़रूरत है। मैं कराता हूँ। आपका जो स्पेसिफिक अगर आपका कुछ इनपुट है तो इन पर्टिकुलर यू कैन गिव इट टू मी, आई विल गेट इट डन।
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, थैंक यू। हाँ बस तो ठीक है। तो सर एक लास्ट रिक्वेस्ट था कि जो कंस्ट्रक्शन इक्विपमेंट है या उसके स्पेयर पार्ट्स हैं उस पर आज 18% GST लगती है सर, किंतु सरप्राइजिंगली माइनिंग मशीनरी एज वेल उसके स्पेयर्स पे 28% GST है, and 28% GST is actually for material that is not very useful, that is perhaps luxury. But mining is a very critical component of the development of the country. तो इस बारे में भी अगर आप उसके बारे में कुछ सोच के अगर कुछ स्टडी करवाएं कि क्यों 28% GST लगती है for mining equipment as well as spares, that can bring down the cost of operations and everybody will benefit, sir. Because ultimately government pays for it. So
GST काउंसिल में होता है। मैं तो फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर के ध्यान में लाता हूँ, आप मुझे अधिकृत रूप से एक दे दीजिए।
जी सर।
बट एट द सेम टाइम मीट सम ऑफ द स्टेट फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर्स ऑल्सो, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली इट हैज़ टू बी डन इन द GST काउंसिल नाउ। As far as central government is concerned, I will bring it to the notice of Honorable Finance Minister.
Yes. तो
Yes, over to you, Mr. Garg.
तो माननीय मंत्री जी को मतलब निकलना है। उन्होंने समय जैसे उन्होंने बोला राज्यसभा was still there and he came here to keep up his promise and to be with us. सर हम लोग आपके बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं। A big thank you to you sir for being here, for motivating us and for sharing with us the vision that you and the government under the Honorable Prime Minister have of transforming the landscape. हम आपके बहुत बहुत आभारी हैं that you are driving change And we only want to assure you, sir, that as an industry body and as members of this industry, we are wholeheartedly participating in India's progress. We are benefiting from the progress that India is seeing under the visionary leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji and his entire team of ministers who are each a very big change agent. मैं देखता हूं कि बोलते हैं डबल इंजन की गवर्नमेंट है, पर मुझे लगता है कि ये डबल इंजन नहीं, मल्टीपल इंजन्स की गवर्नमेंट है, क्योंकि हर जो हमारे मंत्री साहब हैं, every single minister is a powerhouse who's driving change. And we are really very, very grateful to you and thankful to you for being here. I don't want to take too much time. Would like to thank all the panelists here and all the members. So I would like everyone to please stand up and give our Honorable Minister a standing ovation.
Thank you so much. Well, with that, if I may request Mr. Sandeep Singh to firstly present the shawl to our Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, let the applause continue. What a momentous occasion this is. If I may request Mr. Garg to present the memento. All right, we have Mr. Krishnan presenting the memento to our honorable guest, our chief guest. And Mr. Garg, if you can help us in felicitating our chief guest. Ladies and gentlemen, Shri Prahlad Joshi ji, the governing council, the newly appointed, I think we just announced it today, and we'd want you all to please be present on the stage. So with that, yes, all our members, please do join us. We'll give you 10 more seconds. We just request our chief guest. Yes, sir is right in the center. Ladies and gentlemen, a big, big round of applause. And with that, we thank our chief guest. As he departs, the vision is only growing bigger and stronger. Thank you to our chief guest, Shri Prahlad Joshi ji, for joining us today.
Thank you, Bhavna. Friends, it is always an honor to be welcoming the inspiring presence and participation of our Honorable Minister for Road Transport and Highways and a patron of the construction equipment industry, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji. I would like all of us to welcome him with a very big round of applause. Sir, आप हमारे इंडस्ट्री के लिए कभी भी किसी भी समय निकाल ही लेते हैं. आपका आज का दिन काफ़ी हेक्टिक रहा. आप हिमाचल से अभी जस्ट लौटे हैं, फिर भी आपने एट द एंड ऑफ द डे हमारी इंडस्ट्री के लिए समय निकाला. उसके लिए बहुत बहुत हम लोग आपके लिए बड़े आभारी हैं. एंड ऑल्सो thank you for your guiding light. You have been giving us the inspiration to shape the industry in the right direction with whether it is sustainability, whether it is safety, and all of those areas. आपकी जो मिनिस्ट्री है रोड ट्रांसपोर्ट एंड हाईवेज, the work that Ministry of Road is doing is driving the growth of our industry. हमारी इंडस्ट्री का almost 50% of the demand is driven by Road Ministry's activities, and we would like to be thank you very much for that support. इस साल आपको मालूम होगा कि 23 में हमारा इंडस्ट्री 18% ग्रो कर रहा है, जो पिछले साल से काफ़ी ज़्यादा है. फिस्कल ईयर 22-23 में हमारी इंडस्ट्री पहली बार 107,000 यूनिट्स सेल की है, और ये सबसे बड़ा अब तक का सबसे बड़ा रिकॉर्ड रहा है. और वो भी उसके पिछले साल से 26% year-over-year growth raha hai. Sir, CE Industry is also committed to collaborate with the road and highway sector in bringing down the carbon footprint of construction activities. You have always inspired us to go after new technology, new age green machines. You are aware, and in the exhibition in January, there were many products of electric, zero emission products that were launched, and the industry is quite determined to take forward the agenda of making India a net zero economy by 2070. This particular annual session of ICEMA, iska theme is shaping India's tomorrow through smart infrastructure. SMART stands for sustainable, modern, agile, resilient, and tech-enabled. And this is something that we are taking inspiration from your previous engagements with us. As you are aware, many OEMs in the country have already introduced variants of electric machines. We are also trying to assess the potential of alternative fuels, both from gas-based and biofuels. We would like to see more policies to encourage the use of these alternative technologies in the various projects that Road Ministry is doing. As you know, sir, we have also been working with your ministry for supporting the further greening of the industry with the introduction of off-highway emissions, and we have been working with your ministry to put their proposal together, and we look forward to your support to make that a reality very soon. When it comes to the next major event of the industry, it is in December, sir. I would like to use this occasion to formally welcome you and request your participation in XCon 2023, which is from the 12th to the 14th of December in Bangalore. And I know it will be effort to come to Bangalore at that time, but we would request your support to come and inaugurate that exhibition in December, sir. The other area which we have been working is in the area of skilling, making skilling as certified and skilled operators mandatory in all infra projects is the focus of our industry, and we would like your support in this area. I would also like to say we have developed a technology vision roadmap for the industry. We would be taking your help to release this technology vision roadmap in this event today, and with the blessings from you, sir. With that, let me welcome you on behalf of the entire construction equipment industry to speak a few words to all of us and inspire us again. Shri Nitin Gadkari ji.
Mr. Krishnan, President, ICEMA, Mr. V. Vivekanand, Vice President, Mr. Deepak Shetty, Convener, सभी distinguished dignitaries, colleagues from industries और मेरे मित्रों, सबसे पहले मैं आपने जो 18% ग्रोथ हासिल की है इसके लिए पूरी इंडस्ट्री को हृदय से बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं, शुभेच्छाएं देता हूं, आपका अभिनंदन करता हूं। ये जो इंडस्ट्री है इसमें डोमेस्टिक पोटेंशियल तो है, पर जब हमारी इक्विपमेंट और उसकी कॉस्टिंग फ्यूल के हिसाब से कम होगी तो हमें इंटरनेशनल लेवल पर एक्सपोर्ट पोटेंशियल भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा है। आज जैसे कृष्णन जी ने बताया कि टोटल जो इंडस्ट्री में 18% ग्रोथ है, इसमें एक्सपोर्ट का भी बड़ा रोल है। विशेष रूप से हिंदुस्तान में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करना, ये वर्ल्ड में अब काफ़ी लोगों को लगता है कि हम हिंदुस्तान में जाएं और उसमें मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करें। वी आर द जो डेवलपमेंट हो रही है, डेवलप इकोनॉमी में हम नंबर 1 पर है और हमारा नंबर अभी 5वें नंबर पर वर्ल्ड में है। जो पहले 10वें नंबर पर था, आज जो फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी है और जो इकोनॉमी आज वर्ल्ड में है उसमें हम 5वें नंबर पर हैं। और प्रधानमंत्री की इच्छा है कि जो $5 ट्रिलियन की इकोनॉमी हमको बनना है उसमें हम 3rd नंबर पे 5 साल में उसको हासिल करें। मुझे विश्वास है कि हमारे ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री का साइज 7.5 लाख करोड़ का है और ये इंडस्ट्री जो है ये सबसे ज़्यादा भारत सरकार को और राज्य सरकार को जीएसटी देने वाली है। ये इंडस्ट्री जो है ये 4.5 करोड़ लोगों को एम्प्लॉयमेंट दे चुकी है और 50% इसका एक्सपोर्ट है। तो आत्मनिर्भर भारत बनाने में और सुपर इकोनॉमिक पावर बनाने में निश्चित रूप से हमारी कंस्ट्रक्शन इक्विपमेंट इंडस्ट्री हो, ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री हो, इनकी भूमिका बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। एक बात और है जो मैं बार बार आपके पास आता हूँ तो उल्लेख करता ही हूँ कि हमारे देश में रोड कंस्ट्रक्शन में हमको कॉस्ट ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन को कम करना है और क्वालिटी ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्शन को इम्प्रूव करना है। और इसमें अभी काफ़ी बड़ी इक्विपमेंट जो होते हैं कंस्ट्रक्शन में वो भी काफ़ी आज भी कभी इंपोर्ट होते हैं। और विशेष रूप से अभी हमारी एक प्रकार से तैयारी चल रही है कि 100% प्रीकास्ट में जाए, और जो अलग अलग प्रकार के मटेरियल है उसमें स्वाभाविक रूप से इक्विपमेंट की क्वालिटी और उसका फ्यूल कंजम्पशन और फ्यूल कौन सा है ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है। मैं 4-5 साल से आपके कार्यक्रम में आ रहा हूँ, और जब मैं इलेक्ट्रिक की, इथेनॉल की, मिथेनॉल की बात करता था और बायो सीएनजी, बायो एलएनजी की बात करता था तो ये बहुत डेवलप हो गया। मैं भी एसोसिएशन का अध्यक्ष हूँ। 135 ऐसे यूनिट हैं जो राइस स्ट्रॉ, परली से और बायोमास से बायो सीएनजी और बायो एलएनजी बना रहे हैं। 28 यूनिट ऐसे कि जो ऑलरेडी जिसका काम शुरू हो गया है। मैं जब बंगलोर में था तो अशोक लेलैंड ने अपनी स्पेशल ट्रक को और बंगलोर स्टेट ट्रांसपोर्ट ने अपनी कुछ 25-30 गाड़ियों को 15% मिथेनॉल उसमें डालकर पायलट प्रोजेक्ट सक्सेसफुली इम्प्लीमेंट किया। परसों आसाम के मुख्यमंत्री मेरे पास आए थे और आसाम पेट्रोलियम में 600 टन मिथेनॉल पर डे तैयार होता है। तो मैंने उनको ये कहा है कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट का पूरा ट्रांसपोर्ट अगर मिथेनॉल पे कन्वर्ट होगा तो कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगी, क्योंकि मिथेनॉल का रेट 25 रुपये लीटर और डीजल का 120 रुपये है। इतना ही नहीं तो जो इंजिन्स, मरीन इंजिन्स है जो इनलैंड वाटर में यूज़ हो रहे हैं वो भी अब मिथेनॉल पे कन्वर्ट हुए हैं, और मिथेनॉल 15 से 20% डीजल में डाल सकते हैं, ये भी प्रूव हुआ है। तो आने वाले समय में इंपोर्ट सब्सटीट्यूट, कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव, पोल्यूशन फ्री और इंडिजिनियस। अब हाइड्रोजन की भी चर्चा हो रही है। हाइड्रोजन में काफ़ी काम है, काफ़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है, और आपको सबको पता है कि आजकल जो लो क्वालिटी कोल है उससे मिथेनॉल भी बनता है, अमोनियम नाइट्रेट भी बनता है, डीएमए भी बनता है और हाइड्रोजन भी बनता है। अब हमारे बायोमास से और वेस्ट वाटर से भी इलेक्ट्रोलाइज़र में हम वर्ल्ड में नंबर 1 है मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में। तो अब हाइड्रोजन का मिशन भी आया और हाइड्रोजन में काफ़ी काम हो रहा है। मैं खुद हाइड्रोजन की गाड़ी दिल्ली में यूज़ करता हूँ, उसका नाम है मिराई। मिराई मीन्स फ्यूचर। और आने वाले समय में इंडस्ट्री में, केमिकल इंडस्ट्री में, फार्मास्यूटिकल में, स्टील इंडस्ट्री में हाइड्रोजन या फ्यूल करके इसका उपयोग होने वाला है। अभी फ्यूचरिस्टिक टेक्नोलॉजी और फ्यूचरिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट के आधार पर आने वाले 10 साल के लिए हमें किसकी ज़रूरत है, इसका अध्ययन और उसकी विजन आप में से आप लोग ज़्यादा अच्छी तरह से जानते हैं और करते भी हैं। अभी हमारे यहाँ हाइड्रोजन के जो स्टेशन है, फिलिंग स्टेशन है, वो बनते नहीं हिंदुस्तान में। अब हमारे यहाँ 3-4 कंपनियों ने अपने आईसी इंजन को हाइड्रोजन से यूज़ करने की सुविधा प्राप्त करके दी। आपके एग्जीबिशन में वो सब कंपनियाँ वहाँ थी। इलेक्ट्रिक की ट्रक अभी काफ़ी लोगों ने बना चुके हैं, और बसेस तो इतनी पॉपुलर हुई है कि 5 साल के बाद हिंदुस्तान में सब जगह इलेक्ट्रिक बसेस दिखेगी। अभी मैं ट्रॉली बस जो है केबल पे चलने वाली, वो दिल्ली से जयपुर तय, उसको भी शुरू करने के लिए प्रयास कर रहा हूँ। इलेक्ट्रिक स्कूटर, इलेक्ट्रिक ऑटो रिक्शा, इलेक्ट्रिक रिक्शा, ई रिक्शा, अब इलेक्ट्रिक बस बहुत पॉपुलर हो गई है। मैं जब आपके सामने कहता था 4-5 सालों में, तो लोग पूछते थे कि अगर बीच में बंद हो गया तो क्या होगा। अब कोई नहीं पूछता। अभी इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल के लिए वेटिंग लिस्ट है। अब मेरे पास आते कि आउट ऑफ टर्न गाड़ी हमको मिला के दो। तो परिस्थिति बदल गई है, और इसलिए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए भी सरकार ने पहले हाईएस्ट प्रायोरिटी दी है। माइनिंग इंडस्ट्री को लगभग प्राइवेटाइज किया है। कोल इंडस्ट्री, मैग्नीज इंडस्ट्री, बड़े प्रमाण पर इन्वेस्टमेंट आ रही है। वाटरवेज डेवलप हो रहे, मरीन इंजिन्स हमको बड़े प्रमाण पर लगने वाले हैं, और इन सब बातों के लिए इक्विपमेंट भी लगने वाले हैं। और इसका जितना एक्सपोर्ट बढ़ेगा उतना कंटेनर को ट्रांसपोर्ट करने में ट्रक्स भी लगेंगे। तो लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट हमारी 14 से 16% है, और हमारी जो फ्यूल अगर चेंज हो गई, और निश्चित रूप से हम आने वाले समय में, जैसे चाइना में 8% है, यूरोपियन कंट्रीज में 12% है, तो हमारा ये मिशन है, उद्दिष्ट है कि हम 9% पे आए कम से कम, सिंगल डिजिट। तो सिंगल डिजिट में आएंगे तो हमारा एक्सपोर्ट 1.5 गुना बढ़ेगा, क्योंकि हम कॉम्पिटिटिव बनेंगे। डीजल एंड पेट्रोल हजार्डस भी है और कॉस्ट भी बहुत ज़्यादा है, और इसलिए ये जितने जल्दी आप इसको बदल सकेंगे वो अच्छा है। और जो हमारे देश में फ्यूल तैयार हो रही, जैसे स्कैनिया ने हमारे यहाँ बसेस दी थी नागपुर में, वो पूरी इथेनॉल पे चलती थी, ग्रीन बसेस थी। वो टेक्नोलॉजी उनके पास है, अब इथेनॉल अवेलेबल है। हमारे देश में इथेनॉल की कैपेसिटी अभी आसाम में हमारी इंडियन ऑयल ने वहाँ जो बाम्बू है उससे इथेनॉल बनाया। अब एविएशन फ्यूल जो है उसमें ये मैंडेटरी हुआ है कि 2% बायो एविएशन फ्यूल ऐड करनी होगी। बीच में हमने स्पाइस जेट का एक हवाई जहाज देहरादून से दिल्ली लाया, 50% बायो फ्यूल थी। अभी विस्तारा का प्लेन है, उसमें प्रयोग हुआ। तो जो जो राज्य है, जो जो विभाग है, वहाँ जिस प्रकार की फ्यूल की अवेलेबिलिटी है उसके आधार पे इक्विपमेंट आपने तैयार किए तो कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगी, तो लोग निश्चित रूप से आपको मार्केट मिलेगा। अभी 600 टन मिथेनॉल है और वर्ल्ड में मिथेनॉल में शिप चल रहे हैं, ट्रक चल रही है, बसेस चल रही है, कोई नई बात नहीं है, प्रूवन टेक्नोलॉजी। हमने स्टैंडर्ड्स भी बना दिए हैं। अब नॉर्थ ईस्ट और आसाम में अभी अशोक लेलैंड के ट्रक भी आए हैं। तो मुझे लगता है कि वही अगर आप मिथेनॉल की मशीनरी नॉर्थ ईस्ट और आसाम में देंगे, इथेनॉल की मशीनरी अगर आप महाराष्ट्र, कर्नाटक, उत्तर प्रदेश में देंगे, तो वहाँ मुबलक इथेनॉल अवेलेबल है। तो प्रदूषण भी कम करना है, कॉस्ट को कम करना है। अभी ये रोड कंस्ट्रक्शन में बिकॉज ऑफ डीजल इक्विपमेंट्स 1000 करोड़ के काम में 100 करोड़ का डीजल लगता है, और यही अगर आपने इक्विपमेंट अगर अल्टरनेटिव फ्यूल पे दिए तो 50 करोड़ रुपए उसका डायरेक्ट सेविंग हो जाएगा। एक बात जरूर है कि पहले कॉस्ट ज़्यादा है और इसलिए स्वाभाविक रूप से फ्यूल कॉस्ट का सस्ती है, पर उसकी कैपिटल कॉस्ट ज़्यादा है। पर ये धीरे धीरे नंबर बढ़ेगा तो आपकी कॉस्ट भी कम होगी। तो मुझे निश्चित रूप से ऐसा लगता है कि इस इंडस्ट्री के सबसे बड़ी स्ट्रेंथ अगर कोई है तो इस इंडस्ट्री में एक्सपोर्ट पोटेंशियल सबसे ज़्यादा है। और जो फॉरेन की कंपनीज यहाँ अपने ब्रांड तैयार कर रहे हैं वो ये अच्छी तरह जानते हैं कि उनके देश में तैयार करने के बजाय हिंदुस्तान में तैयार करने से प्रोडक्शन कॉस्ट वो 25 से 40% तक कम कर सकते हैं विदाउट कॉम्प्रोमाइज विद द क्वालिटी, और इसलिए एक्सपोर्ट पोटेंशियल है। हमने स्क्रैपिंग पॉलिसी अब लाई है। एल्यूमिनियम, कॉपर, स्टील, रबर, इसका रिसाइकलिंग हो रहा है। स्क्रैपिंग यूनिट्स भी काफ़ी बड़े प्रमाण पर आ रही है। अभी हमारे यहाँ रोड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में अभी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का जो बजट है वो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने काफ़ी 10 लाख करोड़ रखे हैं केवल, और हमारे लिए 2,80,000 करोड़ का बजट है। रेलवे में भी काम हो रहे हैं, सब जगह काम हो रहे हैं। तो मेरा आपसे एक अनुरोध है कि ये काम होते समय पब्लिक प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टमेंट को हम बड़े प्रमाण पर हमारे साथ रोड सेक्टर में यूज़ कर रहे हैं। अभी मैं एक फॉरेन एजेंसी को इंटरव्यू दे रहा था, उन्होंने कहा इन्वेट में क्यों नहीं जाते, आप ये क्यों नहीं करते? बोला क्या करूं, पैसे लाकर बैंक में डिपॉजिट रखो, ये खर्चा नहीं करते हमारे लोग। अब पैसा जल्दी खर्चा करना ये हमारी समस्या है, पैसे की कमी ये समस्या नहीं है। और मैंने कहा कि अब गरीबों के पैसे लेंगे। इन्वेट मॉडल में गए हम लोग, और जब हमने पैसे रेज किए 8.05% इंटरेस्ट पर ईयर, और हमने कहा मंथली तुम्हारे अकाउंट में देंगे। मैंने कहा ये बड़े बड़े लोगों के पैसे नहीं लेना, गरीब के लेना, छोटे आदमी से लेना है। और उसको कहा कि इसको इंटरेस्ट मंथली मिलेगा, नॉट ईयरली। और आपको ताज्जुब होगा कि 7 दिन का टाइम था, हमारा बॉन्ड इशू इन्वेट मॉडल का 7 टाइम्स ओवर सब्सक्राइब पहले दिन 7 घंटे में हो गया। अब प्रॉब्लम है कि ये मॉडल्स तैयार है हमारे पास 60-70 हज़ार करोड़ कभी भी जाए, पर पैसा क्या करे, खर्चा ही नहीं होता। अगर खर्चा करने के लिए जो पूर्व तैयारी चाहिए, लैंड एक्विजिशन, यूटिलिटी शिफ्टिंग, रोड का कॉन्ट्रैक्टर, उसको बैंक गारंटी नहीं मिलती, 1-1 साल परफॉर्मेंस गारंटी। अभी हमने इंश्योरेंस बॉन्ड लाए, आप भी आपके इसमें ये इंश्योरेंस बॉन्ड का उपयोग कर सकते तो करिए। मैं बहुत बार कहता हूँ कि आप भी कोई आपकी एनबीसीसी तैयार करो और आप जो एक्सपोर्ट करते हो वो पैसा डॉलर में लाकर उसको हेजिंग करने की शायद ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, तो कम इंटरेस्ट में फाइनेंस करो, तो इकोनॉमिक वायबिलिटी बढ़ेगी। लोग आपकी इक्विपमेंट जो कंपनी देगी फाइनेंस जरूर लेंगे। जिसने आपके 10 इक्विपमेंट लिए उसको 11वां आप लोन पर दो, आपका भी बिजनेस बढ़ेगा। तो जो इनोवेटिव टेक्नोलॉजी है, इनोवेटिव फाइनेंशियल मॉडल्स है, जिससे क्वालिटी से कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ न करते हुए हम कॉस्ट को कम करेंगे, तो उसका पोटेंशियल बढ़ने वाला है। अभी 10 लाख करोड़ जैसे मैंने कहा, ये 3.3% ऑफ जीडीपी ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए सरकार में वित्त मंत्री जी ने रखे। भारतमाला परियोजना में अभी हमको और एक सेकंड का अप्रूवल अभी तक मिला नहीं, उसके पीछे हम हैं। तो आने वाले समय में 51 लाख करोड़ के तो रोड के प्रोजेक्ट है जो हमको करने हैं। टनल, ब्रिजेस, फ्लाईओवर्स, बाईपास, रिंग रोड्स, पोर्ट कनेक्टिविटी में अभी हमने प्रायोरिटी दी है। वेस्ट साइड 670 एमिनिटीज़ बना रहे, उसमें हेलीपोर्ट, ड्रोन पोर्ट बना रहे। आज मैं हिमाचल में था, वहाँ के मुख्यमंत्री को मैंने कहा कि तुम ड्रोन पोर्ट बनाओ, और ये नीचे से इसेंशियल चीज़ें 200 किलो तक का ड्रोन आया है, ये ऊपर दो, और ऊपर से जो एप्पल है वो नीचे लाओ, तो आपकी कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगी। तो अब हम एग्रीकल्चर स्प्रेइंग में ड्रोन को यूज़ कर रहे हैं। अब इतना बड़ा फ़ायदा है टेक्नोलॉजी का कि अगर ड्रोन से स्प्रेइंग करते हैं तो हमने नैनो यूरिया तैयार किया है। तो अभी यूरिया जब फेंकते हैं तो 1 एकड़ गन्ने के लिए 4 बोरे यूरिया लगता है, और ये 75% वेस्ट होता है, 25% प्लांट को जाता है। और जब ये हमने ड्रोन से स्प्रेइंग किया तो 75% प्लांट को जाता है और 25% वेस्ट होता है। तो 4 के बजाय 2 बॉटल में 2 बोरे में काम होता है। तो 2 बोरे का सेविंग है ना कितना, और हम 1.5 लाख करोड़ की सब्सिडी दे रहे हैं केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर के लिए। तो आने वाले समय में टेक्नोलॉजी जो है उसके कारण काफ़ी बड़ा रिवोल्यूशन हो रहा है। हम लोग अभी 35 मल्टी मॉडल लॉजिस्टिक पार्क बना रहे हैं। हमको अभी बस पोर्ट की योजना की शुरुआत करनी है। 260 रोपवे, केबल कार, फनेकुलर रेल सिस्टम हमारे पास। आज ही मैंने हिमाचल में एक को भी मंजूरी दी, तो उसमें काफ़ी बड़ा पोटेंशियल है। ऑप्टिकल फाइबर केबल अभी हम लेइंग करने के लिए हाईवे में बहुत बड़ी योजना लेके आ रहे हैं। तो साधारण से हमारी रिक्वायरमेंट कैसी है, अगर हम लोग प्रीकास्ट को मैंडेटरी करेंगे और आप अगर प्रीकास्ट की मशीनरी तैयार करेंगे तो फ़ायदा होगा, नहीं तो हमने मैंडेटरी करें उसको इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा। तो मुझे लगता है कि इलेक्ट्रिक कंस्ट्रक्शन इक्विपमेंट में शुरुआत में कॉस्ट थोड़ी ज़्यादा है, हाइड्रोजन में भी कॉस्ट ज़्यादा है, पर उसका एडवांटेज बहुत है। तो आने वाले समय में जो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने 2070 कार्बन न्यूट्रल देश बनाने की बात कही, तो इसमें काफ़ी कुछ करने लगा। अभी दिल्ली का UR2 रिंग रोड है, उसमें हमने 30 लाख टन दिल्ली का कचरा है, गाजीपुर के कचरे के टिकड़े को 7 मीटर डाउन किया और पूरा 30 लाख टन कचरा रोड में यूज़ किया। अहमदाबाद डोलेरो हाईवे में वहाँ हमने 25 से 30 लाख टन कचरा का अभी कचरे की पॉलिसी बना रहे कि म्यूनिसिपल वेस्ट को। अभी एक समय फ्लैश यूज़ करने की बात आई, मुझे याद है मैं महाराष्ट्र में मंत्री था, शीला दीक्षित उस समय अर्बन मिनिस्ट्री थी, उनके पास ज़्यादा था कि आप ये फ्लैश की पॉलिसी बनाओ, इससे ये होगा वो होगा। अभी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने निर्णय दिया कि फ्लैश जो है जिसको चाहिए उसको अपने ट्रक से ट्रांसपोर्ट करके उसके जगह पे पहुंचा दो, ये खर्चा पावर प्रोजेक्ट करेंगे। निर्णय अच्छा हुआ क्योंकि तब समय कोई लेता ही नहीं था, पर अब ऐसी स्थिति होगी कि पैसे देकर भी फ्लैश नहीं मिलती। तो अब सरकारें बोलती है हम काय का फुकट में देना, आप कॉस्ट दो, किराया दो और ऊपर से रॉयल्टी दो। अब कचरे में भी यही होने वाला है। कचरे को सेग्रीगेट करने की मशीन कम से कम 5-6 हज़ार मशीन लगेगी। तो जो फ्यूचरिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट है उसके हिसाब से फ्यूचरिस्टिक इक्विपमेंट कौन से लगेंगे और वो कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव कैसे होंगे, ये आपको तय करना है। और मुझे खुशी है कि अब इसमें धीरे धीरे काफ़ी बातें आ रही है। ये और एक अच्छी बात मैं आपको धन्यवाद दूंगा कि हमने स्किल डेवलपमेंट के आधार पर ये जो इक्विपमेंट है इसको ट्रेनिंग देने की बात मैंने कही थी, और अभी मुझे बताया गया कि करीब 10,000 लोगों को ट्रेनिंग देने का कार्य पूरा हुआ। मैं आप सबको इसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ। हमारे देश में ट्रेनिंग था ही नहीं। ट्रक ड्राइवर के इसमें जो क्लीनर था वही धीरे धीरे गाड़ी चलाता था। हम सब गाड़ी ऐसे ही सीखे। हमारे यहाँ रात में एक बैंक ऑफिसर रहता था, उनका लड़का मेरा दोस्त था, वो रात को अपने पिताजी की स्कूटर लेके चाबी लेके आता था। हम दोनों बैठ के धीरे धीरे हम अपने हिसाब से सीखने लगे, वैसे ही गाड़ी सीखे। कोई ट्रेनिंग स्कूल में गए ही नहीं क्योंकि व्यवस्था ही नहीं थी। तो मुझे लगता है कि आप ये मशीनरी कैसे ऑपरेट करना, इसके ट्रेनिंग की जिम्मेदारी आपको लेनी पड़ेगी। आपके कंपनी में ही आप उन लोगों को बुलाओ, एक आधा हॉस्टल बनाओ, उनको सिखाओ, कुछ पैसे लो उनसे, ताकि ये स्किल्ड अगर मैन पावर तैयार होगी तो इक्विपमेंट ठीक प्रकार से चल पाएंगे। तो मुझे लगता है कि इलेक्ट्रिक मिनी एक्सोवेटर, पिक एंड कैरी क्रेन्स, बैकहो लोडर, ये सब जो है, इसमें अभी आप अलग अलग स्टेट में कौन सा फ्यूल है उसके आधार पर इंजन बनाइए। जो पेट्रोल का इंजन बनता है वो डीजल का बना सकते हैं, जो डीजल का बनता है वो इथेनॉल का बना। इसमें कौन सा रॉकेट साइंस है, कोई बड़ा नहीं है। जिस स्टेट में कौन सा फ्यूल अवेलेबल है जो प्रदूषण न करने वाला और कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव है, उसको आप अगर देंगे तो बिल्कुल मुझे लगता है इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। अभी मैं भी एक प्लांट अभी मेरा प्रयोग कर रहा हूँ। हमने वो प्लास्टिक से क्रूड डीजल निकाला, और जो हार्वेस्टर है गन्ना काटने के लिए यूज़ करते हैं, तो अभी एक आध महीने में होगा, तो मतलब इसको यूज़ करके देखो, वो 40 रुपये लीटर है। तो मेरा जो आपसे सुझाव है कि बाय यूजिंग डिफरेंट टेक्नोलॉजी, और ये अगर आपने किया ये कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव है तो इकोनॉमिक वायबिलिटी बढ़ेगी, और ये जैसे जिस इक्विपमेंट से पैसा बचेगा वो लोग लेंगे ही। ये कोई सेवा का काम नहीं है, ये फ्यूचरिस्टिक बिजनेस डेवलपमेंट के लिए आपके लिए बहुत ही उपयुक्त है। अभी हमारे CNG LNG की बात करते करते मैं वो एसोसिएशन का अध्यक्ष हूँ। 135 प्रोजेक्ट अभी ऑलरेडी काम चालू हो गया उनका, 28 पूरे हुए। अभी ये हरियाणा में, पंजाब में CNG अवेलेबल है। तो CNG के ऊपर इक्विपमेंट करना या उसको कन्वर्ट करना कोई कठिन बात नहीं है। LNG के ट्रक्स आ गए, डीजल की तुलना में LNG में 50% बचत है। तो मेरा आपसे निश्चित रूप से ये अनुरोध है कि जिस स्टेट में जिस प्रकार का फ्यूल है उसी के हिसाब से आप अगर आपकी टेक्नोलॉजी हासिल करेंगे तो एक्सपोर्ट में भी पोटेंशियल है। अगर आप ब्राज़ील में और कनाडा में भेजोगे तो इथेनॉल बेस है तो वो आपके लेंगे, और जहाँ हाइड्रोजन आया तो हाइड्रोजन बेस इक्विपमेंट लोग लेंगे। जहाँ आपने बायो CNG, बायो LNG का यूज़ किया वो लोग उसको यूज़ करेंगे। तो इसमें डोमेस्टिक डिमांड और इंटरनेशनल मार्केट दोनों में भी फ़ायदा होगा। और मैं आपसे अनुरोध करूंगा कि आपके कंपनी में वहीं आप एक ट्रेनिंग सेंटर खोलिए, और जो लोग आपसे मशीनरी खरीदता है उसको बोलो कि तुम्हारे 2 लोगों को 3 महीने के लिए हमारे यहाँ भेजो, उसकी एग्जामिनेशन लो, और आपके सर्टिफिकेट को वैलिडिटी देना है तो उसकी अड़चन तो मेरे पास आओ, मैं आपको अधिकार देता हूँ। उसका ट्रेनिंग होने के बाद उसकी एग्ज़ाम लेके उसको सर्टिफिकेट दो। तो आपके मशीनरी और इक्विपमेंट को इफ़िशेंटली यूज़ करने वाली अगर लोग मिलेंगे तो इक्विपमेंट का लाइफ भी बढ़ेगा, फ्यूल कॉस्ट भी बचेगी, और सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट रोज़गार का भी निर्माण होगा। यूनिवर्सिटी, इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेजेस, IIT, ITI, इनके साथ भी आप जॉइंट वेंचर कर सकते हैं। आजकल हमारे यहाँ IIT, इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज, पॉलिटेक्निक कॉलेज, ITI, ये भी बहुत बड़े प्रमाण पे जॉइंट वेंचर कर रहे हैं, प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हैं। अभी रोड सेफ्टी में ये रोड का सेफ्टी ऑडिट करना, तो मैंने एक अच्छे कैपेबल कंपनी से सिलेबस तैयार किया, और मैंने उसको कहा कि उसी गांव के जो इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज के नए लड़के हैं उनको वहाँ के प्रोफेसर के गाइडेंस में हम बोलेंगे भाई तुम इसका अध्ययन करो और हमें रिपोर्ट दो। 2 पैसे उनको भी मिलेंगे, हमारा काम भी सस्ता होगा, और लड़के भी ट्रेन होंगे। तो मुझे लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं विन विन सिचुएशन में डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ स्टेक होल्डर्स में आप लोग कोऑपरेशन, कोऑर्डिनेशन एंड कम्युनिकेशन बिटवीन द स्टेक होल्डर्स अगर आएगा, एक दूसरे से संवाद होगा तो बहुत ज़्यादा फ़ायदा होगा। मैं निश्चित रूप से इस बात से समाधानी हूँ कि आपने, जब मैं हर बार आता तो इस बार आपने 10,000 लड़के ट्रेन हुए, तो दिस इज आल्सो गुड स्टार्ट। तो मुझे लगता है कि ये जो फ्यूचरिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट और फ्यूचरिस्टिक विजन फ्रॉम टेक्नोलॉजी टू फ्यूल, रोड में तो हमने काम कर दिया, तो बाकी का आप जरूर करिए। अभी कभी कभी एसी केबिन का मैंने उस समय तय किया था तो बहुत लोगों ने विरोध किया। वो मैं जो कहते थे इससे कॉस्ट बढ़ेगी, कॉस्ट बढ़ेगी, मैंने उन लोगों को बोला तुम नुकसान कर रहे हो तुम्हारा। अब दुनिया कॉस्ट सेंट्रिक नहीं है, क्वालिटी सेंट्रिक है। और जैसे लोगों ने अपने मॉडल अच्छे डिज़ाइन किए और क्वालिटी अच्छी दी, तो आज उनका शेयर बढ़ गया मार्केट में, क्योंकि अब लोग क्वालिटी चाहते हैं। अभी हमने ट्रक के लिए एसी केबिन मैंडेटरी कर दी, फिक्स्ड वर्किंग आवर्स करने के ऊपर विचार कर रहे हैं। रोड सेफ्टी में एक्सीडेंट्स बड़े प्रमाण पर होते हैं। अभी आज ही एक्सीडेंट हुआ, ये समृद्धि महामार्ग पर क्रेन लेके जा रहे थे, तो आप में से कोई कंपनी की होगी, 16 लोग मर गए वहाँ। तो नेचुरली रोड सेफ्टी में, इक्विपमेंट में हम सबको सोचना पड़ेगा कि हम इसमें सेफ्टी फीचर्स को कैसे कंसीडर करें। हमें कॉस्ट ऑफ इक्विपमेंट भी कम करना है, डिफरेंट फ्यूल को भी यूज़ करना है, सेफ्टी के भी स्टैंडर्ड्स को मेंटेन करना है, प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी तो आपको कमाना ही है, और एक्सपोर्ट को बढ़ाना, रोज़गार भी क्रिएट करना, और इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ में देश के लिए आपका उपयोग, आपकी मदद भी करनी है। तो मुझे लगता है कि निश्चित रूप से आप सबका सहयोग मिलेगा। अभी अर्थ मूविंग इक्विपमेंट 70%, ये कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ एंड कंक्रीट इक्विपमेंट 16%, मटेरियल प्रोसेसिंग एंड हैंडलिंग इक्विपमेंट 14%। तो मुझे लगता है कि आप लोग तो ऑलरेडी करते होंगे, पर आप भी जो टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे देश में नहीं है, आप वर्ल्ड में किसी से भी लाओ। आज लोग तैयार है इंडिया में आने के लिए, तो इसका भी उपयोग आप करिए। मैं बहुत आपको विश्वास के साथ बता रहा हूँ, जिस प्रकार से रोड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में डेवलपमेंट हुई, उसी प्रकार से माइनिंग सेक्टर में, अर्बन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को डेवलप करने के लिए, और इंडस्ट्रियल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में भी उसी गति से अब डेवलपमेंट होने वाली है। और इसलिए पावर सेक्टर में भी हो रही है। तो वाटर, पावर, ट्रांसपोर्ट एंड कम्युनिकेशन, ये 4 बातें हुए बिना कैपिटल इन्वेस्टमेंट और इंडस्ट्री नहीं आएगी, और इंडस्ट्री और कैपिटल इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं आएगी, उसके बिना ग्रोथ नहीं बढ़ेगी, रोजगार निर्माण नहीं होगा, और रोजगार निर्माण नहीं होगा तो गरीबी दूर नहीं होगी। और इसलिए वी आर द फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी इन द वर्ल्ड नाउ, और ये जो 5वें से तीसरे नंबर पर जाना है। और ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री में तो मैंने कहा है कि 5 साल के अंदर हम 15 लाख करोड़ की इंडस्ट्री बनेंगे, और वर्ल्ड की नंबर 1 मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हब हम बनेंगे। ये हमारा उद्दिष्ट भी है, और आपके सबके सहयोग से वो निश्चित रूप से पूरा होगा, इस बात का मुझे विश्वास भी है। मैं आपको इतनी बात कहूँगा कि लो एम इज क्राइम। By diversification and by using different technology and successful practices in the world, by using different material, try to reduce the cost of equipment and try to increase the quality and efficiency of the equipment, change the appropriate fuel which the society and the state and the country needs without pollution. अगर आपने कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव किया तो मुझे लगता है डोमेस्टिक मार्केट तो कुछ भी नहीं, इंटरनेशनल मार्केट में पूरी तरह डोमिनेट करने का अवसर आप सबके सामने है, और उसी हिसाब से आपका एक्सपांशन करिए, इसको और बढ़ाइए, देश की प्रगति और विकास में आप निश्चित रूप से कंट्रीब्यूट करिए। यही आप सबको मैं अनुरोध करता हूँ। मैं आज हिमाचल प्रदेश में था, वहाँ काफ़ी बरसात के नुकसान हुआ, तो मुझे आने में देरी हुई, और इसलिए आप सबकी क्षमा मांगता हूँ। फिर से एक बार आप सबको बहुत बहुत बधाई, धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
सो सर, नेक्स्ट व्हाट वी वुड लाइक टू डू इज, हम लोगों ने आपके मार्गदर्शन में इंडस्ट्री, कंस्ट्रक्शन इक्विपमेंट इंडस्ट्री के लिए एक टेक्नोलॉजी विजन रोड मैप बनाया है, विच वी वुड लाइक यू टू रिलीज टू द ऑडियंस। एंड वो रिलीज करने से पहले मैं चाहूँगा कि विवेकानंद थोड़ा सा उसके बारे में बताएं, देन वी विल रिलीज इट। Vivekanand ji is our president designate. He will be the next president for ICEMA. He is from Caterpillar, sir.
First of all, I would like to extend my sincere thank you for the minister for taking your valuable time to come and honor your presence in our occasion. And you have definitely been a source of inspiration for us, and you always challenge us with how we need to really come out of our comfort zone and then reinvent ourselves to really provide a solution on the technology side of it. In line with the inputs, what we have been really getting from you from our various interactions, the Technology and Sustainability Panel actually embarked upon a vision plan. And today we are at a point where we would want you to really just release that vision plan. The vision plan actually just makes sure that whatever you talked about, sir, that's going to be a reality. The vision plan focuses on three major pillars. One is the safety, other one is the sustainability, another one is the solution. These are the three main pillars which the vision plan will focus on, to make sure that as we really just continue to shape India's tomorrow, we are actually bringing in a world-class technological advanced equipments, and also which will really enable the world-class infrastructure and which will help India become a developed nation by 2047, and also achieve the net zero goals of 2070, what you actually outlined as part of your speech. So we are very much committed to actually just make sure that your vision is, your aspirations are actually going to be enabled by ICEMA. And in line with that, we have come out with the extensive consultation with all the stakeholders, which includes the member companies, the customers, as well as the government. And also we have collaborated with international benchmarks to come out with this vision plan. And we take this opportunity to really just have your presence to unveil that vision document. And we are also going to have a summit in a couple of months from now, wherein we will actually just unveil the broader details of those vision plan to all the stakeholders, and then takes clear, tangible actions to realize that vision. So with that said, I would definitely want your presence to really just unveil that vision document. Can you just get the vision document?
I will also request Deepak to give a few words on what we...
जनरेटर सेट इथेनॉल पे क्यों नहीं तैयार करता? इतना डिमांड है, 4,000 करोड़ लीटर डीजल जाता है. आप तो करिए इतना.
सीएनजी पे किया है.
सीएनजी पे किया है. क्या होता है, सीएनजी का प्रॉब्लम है, वो हमारे यहाँ किसानों के जो पंप है डीजल के, और इथेनॉल में 4,000 करोड़ लीटर डीजल लगता है जनरेटर सेट को, सब फैक्ट्री में है. तो जहाँ जहाँ इथेनॉल अवेलेबल है वो उनको वो कॉस्ट एकदम बच जाएगी. मेरे घर पर एक मुझे विक्रम अपना ये किर्लोस्कर ने बना के दिया, मैंने अपने बिल्डिंग में लगाया. मैं इथेनॉल ला के, चलो एक ही है केवल देश में, वो मेरे आग्रह से उन्होंने तैयार किया. वो कोई बड़ी टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है, आप ये करो तो बहुत बड़ा मार्केट मिलेगा.
ICEMA has really dovetailed with all the panels, hydrogen mobility panel, which has been considered. ICEMA has been part of it, and we are all.
Every state the problems are different. Yeah. Assam and Northeast now the methanol is available. It is cost effective. In Western Maharashtra or in Maharashtra, ethanol is available. In Uttar Pradesh, whole district, everywhere sugarcane is there, ethanol is available. Now Punjab and Haryana, CNG, LNG is available. So the way in which, if you are considering the problems related with the different states, on the basis of that, if you can launch your product, then it will be a win-win situation for all the stakeholders.
Sir, your views on electric machines?
Electric machine is equally good. कोई problem नहीं, बहुत अच्छा. बैटरी की, the problem is cost of the lithium-ion battery. We are working on steel ion, aluminum ion, zinc ion chemistry. And now in Jammu, we have just have that lithium ion, which is supposed to be the 6% of the world stock. Now I have a discussion with the LG, Lieutenant Governor, that you should immediately take it. So I prepare a model to them that on the basis of the private sector will taking that responsibility, and by royalty base per kg, they will give the cost. They will give the material and you can sell it, either they will sell it. And if there are need for lithium ion, 1200 ton of lithium ion is needed. And now presently the cost is $115 per kilowatt. And basically our target is to take it to $100. I feel that due course of time we will have a successful technology and we will reduce that cost.
So I just wanted to mention that you spoke about exports, and I was earlier mentioning to you, I'm very proud to mention that our industry now exports to 130 countries around the world.
It's very good.
So
this is really the most important thing. और मैं आपको सजेस्ट करूँगा कि जो सबसे ज़्यादा एक्सपोर्ट करते हो उनको ऐसे कार्यक्रम में उनका ज़रा फेलिसिटेशन करिए और इसको पढ़ाइए. बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है. आप अच्छा, पर आप एक दूसरे के कंपटीशन में है ना।
नहीं सर, इसमें
किसी
साथ में।
एक ने कहा दूसरे को अच्छा, तो अपना मार्केट प्रॉब्लम ना हो।
सर इसके अलावा मैं ये आपको कहना चाहता हूँ कि
एक हम लोग एक कार्यक्रम कर रहे हैं, अपने 7 वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड किए, तो उपराष्ट्रपति जी आने वाले हैं, तो मैंने हमारे डिपार्टमेंट को कहा कि इसमें जिन इंजीनियर्स ने काम किया, वो जो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर ने काम किया, जो और जो इक्विपमेंट भी हमने यूज़ किए, वो इसकी जानकारी वो फिल्म में दो। और हम इस बार ऐसा करेंगे कि ये जो वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड हमारे साथ हुए हैं, उसमें वो कंपनियों को भी रेफरेंस देंगे कि ये इक्विपमेंट इनका था, इनका हमने यूज़ किया। तो थोड़ा सा क्या होता है कि मोटिवेशन मिलता है, जो अच्छा काम करता है उसको सम्मान मिलना चाहिए, और जो गलत काम करता है उसको सज़ा मिलनी चाहिए। तो ये दोनों बातों से थोड़ा बहुत सुधार होगा।
सर विवेकानंद ने टेक्नोलॉजी की बात की, मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि पिछले 10 साल में निरंतर हमारी जो कंपनीज है वो फ्यूल एफिशिएंसी इंप्रूव करने के ऊपर भी फोकस कर रही है, और कुछ 40 से 45% जो फ्यूल कंजम्पशन था वो कम किया है।
ये डीजल में 15%, 20%, डीजल में 15 to 20% मिथेनॉल डालना, ये ARI ने भी सक्सेसफुली किया। और अभी कर्नाटक स्टेट ट्रांसपोर्ट ने 20 बसेस में ये भी प्रोजेक्ट सक्सेसफुल हुआ। अब वो इंजन तो डीजल का ही है, तो आप कम से कम ये 15-20% मिथेनॉल वाला शुरू करेंगे तो कॉस्ट बच जाएगी। मिथेनॉल का रेट है 25 रुपये लीटर और डीजल का 110 रुपये, 15 रुपये। दूसरा, थोड़ा मिथेनॉल की कैलोरिक वैल्यू कम है, फिर भी उनका 50 रुपये लीटर फ़ायदा होगा, तो कितना बड़ा बेनिफिट पड़ेगा। तो आप, मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ा सा ये ट्राई करके भी देखिए।
श्योर।
So now we would like you to release the technology vision roadmap, please.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time, in presence of our chief guest, to release the technology vision roadmap. And as we have our dignitaries on stage, let's warmly acknowledge them with a big round of applause. At the ICEMA Annual Session 2023, we have the Technology Vision Roadmap in the august presence of our Honorable Minister, our Chief Guest, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji.
आपने बोला जो फिल्म आप बनाएंगे, जो आपने 7 वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड बनाए हैं, मैं चाहूँगा कि हमारे इंडस्ट्री की सभी प्लेयर्स का उसमें पार्टिसिपेशन हो, क्योंकि नेशन बिल्डिंग में हम लोग सब साथ में काम कर रहे हैं। तो it will be great if you could involve both ICEMA and all our brands in the industry. So with that, I would love request you, sir, this time for the annual session. ICEMA has been in existence for many years. We invited all our past presidents who have been big contributors to the development of our industry. I would like to request you for a photograph with all our past presidents who are here, please.
These are the leaders who have shaped ICEMA and, of course, are shaping India. Let's give them a big, big round of applause for their contribution. And we'd like to humbly thank our chief guest, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, to be part of our final session today. What an iconic moment. Yes, Mr. Krishna.
Thank you to all the past presidents. Now I will request all our current GC, newly elected GC members to also join for one picture, and then we'll conclude.
Let's give them all a big, big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We rely heavily on all of them to take forth with this upcoming session of ICEMA. And as they exchange greetings with our chief guest, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, we, of course, don't want to leave the moment. Sir, we'd love to felicitate you now, our chief guest. It is time for us, the iconic moment, and let's give him a standing ovation as we have the opportunity of felicitating Shri Nitin Gadkari ji before he departs. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's make it iconic. He's taken out his valuable time. A man with a great vision, a man with his great word, sticking to always all his commitments all the time, presenting to you and thanking Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, thanking him for being our chief guest and thanking him for his valuable time. As he departs, we would like to humbly thank each and every one of you. We congratulate you for all your efforts today, and we wish you all the very best for shaping India's tomorrow.